Ning Tian frowned when he saw Chen Gaijiang's gaze and the slight smirk on his face. If this damn fortune-teller dared to come over and interrupt his plan, he would definitely beat him up. It seemed that Chen Gaijiang guessed what he was thinking. His eyes widened, and he walked over with a smile while fanning himself. I didn't expect to see fellow Taoist Ning Buxu here. Ning Tian's face darkened. This damn fortune-teller was obviously doing this on purpose. He was still thinking of hiding in the dark so that he could strike first and catch them off guard. Chen Gaijiang's shout. Oh ho! His plan was ruined. Little wife, get ready to fight, Ning Tian said to Sui Weiyao with a cold smile. He glared at Chen Gaijiang, who was walking over with a smile. This damn fortune-teller, he would let him experience what it meant to be a critical hit to a single dog. Okay. Sui Weiyao nodded. Ning Buxu? F***CK. Is he the Ning Buxu who tricked millions of cultivators in the Chaos Emperor realm? It's said that he and the Void God Emperor are good friends. It's over. The Void God Heavenly Palace is in luck this time. It seems that the Void God Heavenly Palace is determined to win the Death Bell. Hearing Chen Gaijiang's words, the surrounding cultivators instantly became lively. The three clans of the Firmament territory looked over at the same time. However, the faces of two clans instantly darkened. The immortal Dragon Emperor swallowed his saliva. How the hell did he meet the ancestral master here? Fortunately, this was not the home of the immortal Dragon clan. Even if the ancestral master destroyed the Death Bell, he would not be hurt. The Death Bell was not important. It was enough to protect the clan. As for the Void God Emperor, he burst into tears when he saw Ning Tian. F***CK. Why was there such a malefic star everywhere? F***CK. I'm crying. Brother Void God, why are you so excited? Well, with Ning Buxu here, the Void God Heavenly Palace will have a much higher chance of winning the Death Bell. Sigh, I'm so jealous. Beside him, Master Luo Hua of the Chaos Emperor realm looked at the Void God Heavenly Palace with envy. Hearing this, the Void God Emperor cried even harder. I'm jealous. I'm jealous of you, Big Star. For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Ning Tian. Ning Tian's plan to hide himself and take them by surprise was completely useless. It seemed that he had to think of another way. All of this was thanks to Chen Gaijiang. Taoist Ning, long time no see. Chen Gaijiang looked at Ning Tian with a smile. Yes, long time no see. Ning Tian's lips curled into a kind smile. He walked toward Chen Gaijiang with Sui Weiyao and said with a smile, Come, Pavilion Master Chen, let's catch up. Ahem, there's no need to catch up. Well, I have something to do. Let's talk later. Chen Gaijiang seemed to realize that something was wrong and wanted to escape. Talk your ass. Concubine, go. Ning Tian shouted. In an instant, the husband and wife worked together to beat up Chen Gaijiang. So, under everyone's gazes, the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's lord was beaten up by the good-natured couple. TSK. It was too horrible to look at. Sigh, this guy ran away again. Ning Tian shook his head slightly and sighed. Chen Gaijiang was a damn fortune-teller. He didn't know his strength, but his escape speed was first class. On the side, seeing this scene, many experts looked at Ning Tian and Sui Weiyao with deep fear in their eyes. The kind couple could beat up Chen Gaijiang, which meant that their strength was definitely not simple. Ning Buxu, Di Wuji watched from the side. This time, he didn't take the initiative to spar with Ning Tian. After all, the most important thing was to get the Death Bell in the Black Death Mountain. As for when to spar, it would have to wait until after the Black Death Mountain. Dong dong. At this moment, in the Black Death Mountain, a bell rang. A terrifying aura of death shrouded out. At this moment, the barrier of the Black Death Mountain shattered. In an instant, everyone looked at the unknown darkness, their eyes filled with deep seriousness. The life-forbidden zone. It finally opened. Everyone was stunned in place, not daring to rush forward. Hubby, what should we do now? Just as everyone kept quiet and looked at the darkness, Sui Weiyao looked at Ning Tian and spoke loudly enough for all the cultivators around to hear. I'm not doing anything. Ning Tian smiled and looked at the Black Death Mountain lazily. Let's not be anxious now. Let's wait for them to go in first, and then we'll go in. If there's any danger, let them check it out first. Okay. Sui Weiyao nodded. Hearing this, many of the surrounding forces cursed Ning Tian in their hearts. However, they didn't move, as they felt that what Ning Buxu said made sense. After all, it was safer to let others go in first before they went in. After a long time, all the forces were in the same position. If one didn't move, the other wouldn't. Suddenly, someone realized that something was wrong. Where's Ning Buxu? The surrounding people looked around, but they didn't see Ning Tian and the others. In the next moment, the group of people reacted. Their expressions changed and they cursed. Damn, that **starred Ning Buxu lied to us. He said that he would wait for others to go in first, but now he's going in first. Damn it, this old fox is deliberately tricking us. He's really Yao Billion. Author's words, give me some free money. I'm running out of money every week. I don't have any motivation. Ning Buxu can't be weak. Chapter 410. Haha, my fellow Taoists, I'll take my leave first. The hearty laughter rang out in the deep forest and resounded in the ears of the surrounding factions. Immediately, they gritted their teeth and looked around. However, Ning Buxu's figure was nowhere to be seen. **CK. That Ning Buxu is really a dog. Shameless. The factions felt like they had been tricked. They gritted their teeth, their expressions ugly. The human race is indeed cunning. The demon race snorted coldly in the black fog. Without any hesitation, the black fog surged and rushed toward the Black Death Mountain. The death bell must not fall into Ning Buxu's hands. With the demon race's movement, the surrounding factions no longer hesitated. If they were too slow, they would have made a wasted trip. As expected of the ancestral master. Seeing this, the immortal dragon emperor sighed deeply and shook his head. Then, he led the forces of the eternal demon realm into the Black Death Mountain. At this moment, all the forces had entered the Black Death Mountain. Soon, their figures disappeared into the darkness without any light. Dong, dong. The bell that symbolized death once again sounded at this moment. The Black Death Mountain was once again shrouded in death chi. In the Black Death Mountain, the surroundings were pitch black and filled with death chi, blurring one's vision. Even great emperors could not see more than 100 meters away. Ancestral Master, didn't you say to wait for others to enter and test the danger? In the Black Death Mountain, Old Two looked at Ning Tian in confusion. Just now, the Ancestral Master had said to wait for others to enter while dragging a few people into the Death Mountain. Before they could react, they were already deep in the Death Mountain. Who said that I have to do it just because I said so? A shameless smile appeared on Ning Tian's face. Sui Weiyao giggled. Old Two, don't you understand? The Ancestral Master meant to deceive them. Who asked those factions to believe him? Besides, even if there's danger, what's the point of testing it? We can't see it either. Moreover, didn't I say before? Every time the death bell rings, the death chi in the Black Death Mountain will thicken. The longer we wait, the more unfavorable it will be for us. As soon as he said that, Old Two and the two guardian elders of the Fox clan widened their eyes. They looked at the smiling Ning Tian and Sui Weiyao and sucked in a breath of cold air. Damn, amazing. If those factions were a little weaker, wouldn't they be killed by this couple? You've shocked Old Two. You've shocked the two clan guardian elders. Reward, all-seeing eyes card test. Heavenly Eye special ability, able to see thousands of miles away and analyze attributes. Duration, 3 hours. Invalid after use. In his mind, the system's voice. Well, Ning Tian stepped into the void ability in a flash and returned to the group. He pondered for a while and said seriously, maybe, it's because I'm the Ancestral Master. Old Two, the two Fox tribe guardian elders. Hearing this, they were speechless. As expected of the Ancestral Master, even in a life-forbidden zone like the Black Death Mountain, it was still very ridiculous. Ning Tian frowned slightly and pondered for a while. Although he said so, he knew in his heart that he might have just hit a small bug. This life-forbidden zone only restricted great emperors from using the void ability. Moreover, he wasn't a great emperor, but he had mastered the void ability. Coincidentally, he took advantage of a loophole in the Life Forbidden Zone. The Ancestral Master showed off the Life Forbidden Zone. However, although I can use it, it seems that the range is limited. It's only a few dozen meters. However, it's still okay. I can kill him when he least expects it. Ning Tian murmured, and then looked at the unknown darkness in front of him. It was a scene of dead ashes and no signs of life. Their existence here seemed to be incompatible with the Black Death Mountain. Let's go. It's time to move. After he said that, Sui Weiyao and the others followed behind him. The group of people walked deeper into the Black Death Mountain. As for the four bells, they were also sounding non-stop. Dong, dong. Chapter 411. In the Black Death Mountain. The group walked deeper into the mountain. Perhaps it was because of the black aura in the Black Death Mountain. Along the way, although there were dead trees, they were all dead trees. The dead trees were covered with a layer of death aura. If one was not careful, they would be contaminated. Ning Tian and the rest could only use their spiritual energy to resist the death aura while walking into the Black Death Mountain. Compared to Old Two and the rest who carefully controlled their spiritual energy, Ning Tian did not have so many scruples. While resisting the death aura, he also used his spiritual energy to check the surroundings from time to time. After all, with a few huge spiritual seas, he could really do whatever he wanted. Although there were many forces that entered the Black Death Mountain, until now, they had not seen any forces. After all, the environment here was really bad. Even if they brushed past each other through parallax, they might not even know. As the bell kept ringing, the death aura in the surroundings became denser and denser. The consumption of spiritual energy was also increasing. Death aura. It was so dense that it blocked one's perception. Heavenly charms. Where are we at the Black Death Mountain? Ning Tian looked at Heavenly Charms behind him and asked. Heavenly Charms was silent for a moment, and then opened the information. After a glance, she said, the Black Death Mountain is divided into two parts, the Forest of Death, the Cliff of Despair, the Burial Ground, and the Death Palace. According to the information, the Death Bell stands in the Death Palace. If we keep going east, we should be close to the Forest of Death. Forest of Death. Ning Tian frowned slightly. This speed was still a bit slow. It seemed that he could only use the all-seeing eye card to lead the way. However, the restriction of this Life Forbidden Zone seemed to be too ridiculous. This Life Forbidden Zone. How did it form? Hearing Ning Tian's muttering, Heavenly Charms and the rest were stunned. They looked at Ning Tian doubtfully. Founder, don't tell me you don't know? Ning Tian was stunned and looked at them. Know what? Hubby, sometimes I wonder if you're from this world. Sui Weiyao shook her head slightly and rolled her eyes at Ning Tian. She said quietly, you're so strong, but you don't know about the Life Forbidden Zone. Ah! Hearing this, Ning Tian could only rub his nose. The Forbidden Zone of Life, according to the explanation of the powerful human beings tens of thousands of years ago, is an ancient ruin formed during the Dark Turmoil. It might be the place where the supreme gods and other gods died. After the passage of time, it finally became the well-known Forbidden Zone of Life. Sui Weiyao explained softly, is it the Dark Age of Turmoil again? Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned slightly. Then, he looked at Sui Weiyao and the others. Are you so sure that the words of the human race's mighty figure tens of thousands of years ago are true? As soon as he said this, Sui Weiyao and the others froze for a moment, then slowly shook their heads. Old Two's lips curled into a helpless smile. Ancestor, we don't even have the time to revere the Life Forbidden Zone, let alone study it. At the side, the two Fox Clan tools also nodded. In the Life Forbidden Zone, all life had to be revered. Perhaps, Ning Tian said casually. In his heart, his curiosity about the Life Forbidden Zone did not decrease. Instead, it increased. He looked at the surrounding darkness again, then said to the people behind him, follow me closely, get ready to speed up. Okay. Everyone nodded heavily. Ning Tian silently said to herself, use it. All-seeing eyes to examine the card. Using all-seeing eyes to examine the card. Use successful. Effective time, 3 hours. As the system's voice fell, the all-seeing technique began to be used. Ning Tian's eyes flashed with a flash of golden light. Then, the darkness in front of him seemed to no longer exist. The black gas of the Black Death Mountain that obstructed perception and sight was instantly ineffective against him. The most amazing thing was that when his gaze fell on Sui Weiao and the others, some information would appear. This was one of the characteristics of the all-seeing technique, analysis. Not bad. Follow me, Ning Tian said, then used the all-seeing technique and walked toward the Black Death Mountain. Sui Weiao and the others also followed. With the all-seeing technique leading the way, the group soon entered a pitch-black forest. If there were no surprises, this should be the forest of death. Heavenly charms, Sha Tian. If the two of you can't hold on any longer, remember to tell me. Ning Tian turned to look at heavenly charms and sealed flame Lion King and reminded them. The surrounding deathly aura was getting thicker. Just using spirit energy to resist the deathly aura was already a huge consumption. With heavenly charms and sealed flame Lion King's strength, the consumption of spirit energy might not be able to keep up. As for him, he was just a cheat. Okay, roar. Heavenly charms and sealed flame Lion King nodded. Dong, dong. Just as the group was preparing to move again, the death bell rang once again. The bell continued to ring for a couple of minutes before it finally came to a stop. Moreover, the sound of the bell this time was slightly different. Why do I feel that something is wrong? The bell seems to have changed? The heavenly fox elder frowned, and his expression was grave. As soon as the bell rang, the surrounding deathly aura instantly rushed toward them. This is the Tao of entertainment. Saint-level attainment? Ning Tian sensed for a while, and quickly realized that there was a different rhyme Tao in the ringing of the bell this time. This rhyme Tao was music Tao. Yes. To the side, Sui Weiao nodded. Her Tao of entertainment was also at the saint level, so she could hear it immediately. She frowned slightly and said uncertainly, also, this bell seems to contain some kind of decree? Order? Everyone was stunned. Although they didn't know what the change in the bell meant, it was better to be cautious. Wait. Keep quiet. At this moment, Ning Tian seemed to have noticed something. He raised his hand slightly and signaled for everyone to be quiet. Hearing this, Sui Weiao and the others closed their mouths and looked at him silently. A golden light flashed in Ning Tian's eyes as he looked not far away. In the black mist, there were a few figures. People from the Falling Flowers sect? Soon, the Heavenly Eye technique analyzed the origins of these people. Ning Tian also had some understanding of them. Previously, he had seen people from the Falling Flowers sect outside the Black Earth Death Mountain. The sect master's strength seemed to be at the Five Tribulations Great Emperor level. The Falling Flowers sect? Hearing this, Heavenly Charm and the others were stunned. But they didn't see anyone. They seemed to be injured? Ning Tian's eyes flashed with golden light as he looked at the people from the Falling Flowers sect. They were all covered in blood, and there was black mist around their wounds. Obviously, they were eroded by the deathly aura. There was fear in their eyes. Even the sect master of the Falling Flowers sect, whose strength was at the Five Tribulation Great Emperor level, seemed to be seriously injured. Boom. At this moment, suddenly, a black figure flashed over. Under Ning Tian's gaze, the people from the Falling Flowers sect were instantly torn into pieces and turned into black ashes, drifting on the ground. What is that? Seeing this, Ning Tian's eyes were solemn. He wanted to check the origin of the black figure, but at this moment, the black figure disappeared. It disappeared? No, it's coming. Chapter 412. Boom. In the blink of an eye, the black shadow appeared next to them like a ghost. Suddenly, the surrounding death aura became denser and rushed toward Ning Tian and the others. The death aura spread more than 10 times, and the consumption of spiritual energy became huge. What's going on? In an instant, Old Two and the 2 guardian elders of the Fox clan were shocked, and Heavenly Charms and the Lion King were struggling. The death aura, it was eroding their spiritual energy. Oomph! Sui Weiao let out a cold snort. Her enormous demigod aura suddenly flowed out and dispersed the deathly aura in the surroundings in an instant. When the deathly aura wanted to come back, It was blocked by the demigod aura. The Forbidden Land has a limit on the demigod aura. I can only maintain it for 3 minutes. After doing all this, Sui Weiyao looked at Ning Tian and said, "Okay." Ning Tian nodded, and his eyes were serious. In front of him was a cloud of death aura. The sudden increase in the death aura was definitely related to the ghostly black shadow. He had to deal with the mysterious black shadow first. Over there. Soon, the heavenly eye technique locked on to the target. A golden light flashed in Ning Tian's eyes. He stepped into the void and moved more than 10 meters in an instant, appearing behind the black fog. The divine thunder technique in his hand was activated, and he used the wind thunder palm. A palm was thrown out. Boom. The power of the palm was released, and the black fog in front of him was swept away. It was also at this moment that everyone was able to clearly see exactly what was hidden within the black mist. It was a figure formed by the death aura. His body was covered in ashes, and his eyes were hollow. The death aura was awe-inspiring. "This is old too," and the others were shocked. The black shadow was moving, and the death aura it contained had reached an extremely high level. The moment the black shadow appeared, Ning Tian activated the heavenly eye technique and looked at the black shadow. He instantly saw through all the information about him. Death General, an item formed by absorbing the death aura for 3,000 years? Ning Tian frowned and looked over. Absorbing 3,000 years worth of death aura? Could it be that this guy is one of the great emperors who entered the Black Death Mountain 3,000 years ago? Hearing this, Tian Mei and the rest frowned as a tinge of seriousness flashed across their eyes. "Yeah." At this time, the black shadow sneered, and the death chi in his hand turned into several sharp claws that rushed towards Ning Tian. "How dare you? How dare you hurt my husband? I'll kill you." Sui Weiyao shouted coldly. Her beautiful eyes flashed with coldness. Her lily-white hand flickered with a cold light, and the might of a demigod slammed down heavily on the Death General rushing towards Ning Tian. Bang! The Death General was heavily smashed into the ground by the palm. Under the palm of a demigod, it was actually able to maintain its body and not be destroyed. What tenacious vitality! Seeing this, Elder Tu could not help but exclaim, "It's not vitality, it's death aura." Ning Tian shook his head and corrected Elder Tu's words. Then, he looked at Sui Weiyao seriously and said, "Yueyao, destroy his death aura." The Falling Flowers sect leader was torn apart because she did not destroy the death aura of the Death General. Those who were killed by the Death General would also be reduced to ashes like them. They would be immersed in the Black Death Mountain for thousands, or even tens of thousands of years. After absorbing enough death aura, they would turn into a Death General and appear in the Forbidden Zone of Life. I understand." Sui Weiyao nodded and raised her lily-white hand. The might of a demigod enveloped the Death General and cut off its connection with the surrounding death aura. At this moment, the might of a demigod emerged and slammed heavily on the Death General's body. The death aura instantly dissipated, and the Death General turned into ashes and fell to the ground. Phew! When the Death General disappeared, the terrifying death aura around it also dissipated at the same time. Elder Tu and the 2 guardian elders of the Fox clan heaved a sigh of relief. Su Yueyao's demigod might did not envelop them, so they could only use their spiritual energy to resist the death aura. However, they could only resist it for a few minutes, and they could already feel the horror of the death aura. As expected of the Forbidden Zone of Life, the 3 old men looked at each other and saw the horror in each other's eyes. If it were not for the Ancestral Master and Su Yueyao, who was a demigod, the Black Death Mountain would be even more difficult. On the side, Heavenly Charm's face was pale, and she quickly adjusted her spiritual energy. The flame-sealing Lion King was also panting heavily. Damn, Master Lion could not take it anymore. Master Lion could not tear down the Forbidden Zone of Life. Let the Ancestral Master who tore down the Heavenly Gate do it. Just when everyone was slightly relieved, the strange sound of the death bell kept ringing. Dong, dong, dong. This bell seems to be trying to expel us from the Black Death Mountain, or erase us. Su Yueyao listened quietly. After a while, She looked at everyone and said slowly with a serious expression, "That means the death bell is now in a master state." Ning Tian frowned slightly, a look of contemplation in his eyes. "Oh, woo, 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 woo." At this moment, the ceiling flame Lion King seemed to have seen something terrifying. Its expression changed, and after letting out a few howls, it turned into a small cub and ran to Old Two's head, shivering. Damn. Master Lion was scared to death. Dong. The bell kept ringing. "Husband, look around." Sui Weiao frowned and said in a serious tone. At the same time, Ning Tian looked around and saw the ashes on the ground filled with death aura along with the sound of the bell. Black shadows crawled out from the ground like evil spirits. "These are all death generals?" Old Two's face changed, and he did not notice that there was a small lion shivering on his head. The bell can control the aura of death. Once the aura of death seeps into the ashes, it can transform into death generals. Ning Tian frowned. There were already hundreds of death generals surrounding them. A death general. It was enough to tear a 5 tribulation great emperor apart. Then, hundreds of death generals, damn. At this moment, Ning Tian finally understood why it was called the Life Forbidden Zone. With hundreds of death generals, even a demigod expert would not be able to escape death. Ancestral Master, I remember that the Black Death Mountain is covered with ashes. That means the death generals are enough to fill the entire Black Death Mountain. Tian Mei's pale voice sounded, and her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. The Black Death Mountain was covered with ashes. Hearing this, even Ning Tian and Sui Weiao felt their scalps tingle. He. In the surroundings, the sinister laughter of the hundreds of death generals continued to spread out along with the sound of the death bell, causing everyone's heart to sink. At this moment, hundreds of death generals surrounded them. The surrounding death aura was overwhelming. "Yueyao, there is only one way now." Ning Tian was silent for a long time. He slowly took out the immortal slashing guzheng and looked at Sui Weiao. Chapter 413. In the Black Earth Death Mountain, along with the sound of the death bell, many forces were resisting the death aura. However, they were horrified to find that along with the sound of the bell, when the death aura was dense, there were some terrifying black shadows that were awakening. These black shadows were all very powerful. Even the weakest one had the strength of a great emperor. Some forces couldn't even react in time and were torn apart by a terrifying black shadow. Before their blood could even spill out, they were corroded by the death aura and turned into black ashes. Everything returned to dust. Although there were screams, under the sound of the bell, it was insignificant. Everything seemed to have never happened. Stepping into the forbidden area of the Black Earth Death Mountain, one had to be prepared to turn into black ashes. At this moment, everywhere in the Black Earth Death Mountain, there were massacres. The weak had almost no ability to resist and were instantly obliterated. Spiritual chi was supposed to resist the death aura, so how could it have the chance to resist those ghostly death generals? They came to the Black Earth Death Mountain just to add black ashes to the ground. However, as for the major forces of the 3 regions, although they were in a sorry state, they still managed to resist the sound of the death bell with their own methods. Ancestral Master, we are out of the death forest. In the black fog, Ning Tian and the others had a cheat. Although it was a bit difficult, it was still much smoother than the other forces. At least no one was injured. Except, there was a lion cub who saw that the patriarch was so awesome and wanted to show off his might, but it was frightened by a death general that suddenly appeared from the ground. It ran to Old Man 2 and sprayed a pool of lion urine on him, and there were no other accidents. Ancestral Master. Next, we will be able to see the Death Palace. On the side, Tian Mei looked at the information and said to Ning Tian. Since Ning Tian chose to enter the easternmost part of the Black Earth Death Mountain, as long as they passed through the Death Forest, they would be able to see the Death Palace. Hubby, can you see it? Sui Weiao looked at him and asked softly. Around them, Old Two and the others also looked over. Let me try, Ning Tian said. Then, a golden light flashed in his eyes as he looked into the distance. With the help of the heavenly eye divine ability, he could see through the layers of black fog and into the endless darkness behind it. Behind the black fog, there was a towering palace, constantly emitting an even stronger death chi. Palace? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment, then he looked over again. Golden light flickered in his eyes as he saw through the fog. Outside the palace, it wasn't just a pile of ashes. Instead, there were millions of corpses, and pitch-black blood flowed in all directions. That is, suddenly, he seemed to see a beautiful figure in white sitting alone in the death palace. She was hugging a black bell in her arms. The dense death chi was mesmerizing, and he couldn't see her face clearly. Just as Ning Tian was about to take a closer look, suddenly, the white-robed figure's jade-like hand shook, and a black bell shook in all directions. In an instant, Ning Tian's vision was disrupted. The golden light in his eyes suddenly dissipated, and he retreated from the death palace. His body shook violently, and his eyes were somewhat dignified. Then, he activated the heavenly god art in his body, controlling the spirit chi in his body. The next moment, a mouthful of blood with a wisp of death chi spurted out from his mouth. Husband? Ancestral master? Seeing this scene, Su Yueyao's face changed instantly. Her pretty face was covered with frost, and her eyes were full of worry. The surrounding people were also stunned and quickly looked over. Why did the ancestral master vomit blood all of a sudden? It's okay. It was just eroded by a wisp of black chi. Ning Tian waved his hand slightly, and his eyes were somewhat dignified. The white-robed figure just now must be hugging the death bell. The sound of the death bell in the black death mountain was definitely from her. But who was she? When did she enter the black death mountain? That was definitely not a death general. A death general couldn't have such a complete body. What happened? Su Yueyao's expression was still somewhat nervous. She took out a healing elixir from her storage ring and handed it to Ning Tian. Ning Tian took it and swallowed it. Just as he was about to speak, he noticed a commotion around him. The sound of the death bell just now had revived some death generals. It seems that I have to deal with the surrounding death generals first. Ning Tian frowned slightly. Leave it all to me. Su Yueyao's tone was a bit cold. Just now, Ning Tian vomiting blood made her very unhappy. Since she was unhappy, she had to kill. Humph! She snorted heavily, and the might of a demigod circulated. She raised her hand, and the surrounding death chi was cut off. Her jade palm fell heavily, and the terrifying spirit chi instantly shrouded the surrounding death generals. Bang! Rumble. In an instant, the death chi was cut off, and the dozens of death generals that rushed over turned into black ashes. Gulp. Seeing this scene, the Sealing Flame Lion King and the three old men trembled. The Sealing Flame Lion King widened his eyes. Is this what a husband protector is like? And this is just the second wife? If this is the first wife? Hiss. Husband, are you okay? What just happened? Su Yueyao didn't care after killing dozens of death generals with a few palm strikes. Her beautiful eyes looked at Ning Tian, and the worry in her eyes was self-evident. It's nothing, just a wisp of death chi. Ning Tian waved his hand slightly, then took a deep breath and said in a serious tone, "The Death Palace is in front, and in the Death Palace, I did see the demigod artifact Death Bell, but, several people frowned. But I also saw a woman in white with the death bell in her arms. I couldn't see her appearance or her strength, but I could see the death chi surrounding her." Ning Tian's tone was a bit serious. That woman in white just now, with just the sound of the bell, she could easily repel his sight. This was definitely not simple. A woman in white? Could it be that someone has beaten us to it? Old Two and the others' faces changed. Along the way, with the heaven-defying ancestral master leading the way, they hadn't even gotten close to the Death Palace. But someone had already reached the Death Palace and even controlled the Death Bell? No, it's not that she beat us to it. It's better to say that she has been in the Death Palace for a long time. Ning Tian shook his head slightly. Could it be the artifact spirit? Su Yueyao frowned, and her eyes were cold. Even if the artifact spirit dared to hurt her husband, she wouldn't let it go easily. Maybe, let's wait until we reach the Death Palace and see. Ning Tian looked in the direction of the Death Palace and used her heavenly eye magic to look at it again. This time, the black fog was hazy, layer after layer. It would take a lot of time to see it clearly. Obviously, that woman in white was on guard. Let's go. Ning Tian shook his head slightly and said to everyone, okay. Several people were about to move. But at this moment, a demonic chi accompanied by a burst of demonic sound attacked them. Kiki humans, I didn't expect to meet you here. Chapter 414. Following the demonic voice, a wave of demonic energy rushed toward the group. Do you want to die? Sui Weiyao snorted coldly and slammed her hand down. She was already very displeased that Ning Tian was slightly injured. How dare these ignorant demons provoke them? Die for this old lady. Boom. The group of demons didn't even have time to react. A jade palm flipped over and instantly slammed them heavily onto the ground. PFFF. The group of demons spat out mouthfuls of black blood as their expressions changed drastically. What? Demigod-level powerhouse? They were a branch of the Crimson Blood Demon tribe. When they saw Ning Tian's group, they wanted to test the waters. Who would have thought that the most powerful being on the other side would directly attack and knock them out with a single palm? Ancestral Master, it's the Crimson Blood Demon tribe, but this isn't their main force. Tian Mei glanced at the group of demons before turning to Ning Tian and saying, MHM. Ning Tian nodded slightly. The ceiling flame Lion King shook its little head upon seeing this. Aowu. It really didn't understand. Why are these demons seeking their own deaths? Didn't they see that Sui Weiyao was in a bad mood right now? How dare they provoke them? There was a path to heaven, but they didn't take it. Wait. Just as Sui Weiyao was about to end the lives of these Crimson Blood Demons, Ning Tian called out to her. Hubby, what's wrong? Sui Weiyao's brows furrowed slightly as she stopped and looked at Ning Tian with confusion. Ning Tian didn't explain. Instead, he walked over to the Crimson Blood Demons with a kind smile on his face. Don't worry, your ancestral master is very kind. I won't kill you. I'm just using you for a small experiment. Experiment? The Crimson Blood Demons were taken aback. What do you want to do? Don't worry, it'll be over soon. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up into a smile. He could sense that the Buddha Demon Pagoda lying quietly in his storage ring was beginning to stir. In the next moment, he flipped his hand and the Buddha Demon Pagoda appeared in his hand. A surge of demonic energy soared into the sky. Even a few demons would be insignificant in comparison to him. What is this? Upon seeing this, the expressions of the Crimson Blood Demons changed drastically. Compared to the Black Tower in the hands of this young man, it was as if their own demonic chi was nothing at all. Who exactly was the demon here? Come. Don't worry, it won't be long. Ning Tian was all smiles as she walked over. Then, the Buddha's Devil Pagoda transformed and instantly suppressed the few crimson blood-red demons within it, causing them to panic. After a while, a blood-curdling scream was heard. Strands of black demonic blood flowed out. AI, what a pity. You guys didn't make it and had to commit suicide. Ning Tian spread out his hands, indicating that it was not that he wanted to kill them, but that they were too weak, so it was equivalent to these demons committing suicide. At the side, Old Two and the others were stunned when they heard this. They smiled bitterly and shook their heads. In the Buddha Demon Pagoda, the demon pagoda that absorbed the demonic energy of the few demons seemed to vibrate a little. The pagoda spirit let out a joyful sound. This was a demon pagoda that absorbed demonic blood and demonic energy to nourish itself. There is a little effect. It seems like I still need stronger demonic blood, Ning Tian murmured. With a flip of his hand, he kept the Buddha Demon Pagoda in his storage ring. The seal on the second level of the Buddha Demon Pagoda loosened a little. However, that was not all. Hearing Ning Tian's murmur, Heavenly Charms and the others silently mourned for the demons that entered the Black Death Mountain for 3 seconds. Those that were targeted by the Patriarch were either dead or living a life worse than death. For example, Old Su. Let's go. After accepting this order of demonic food, Ning Tian stretched his body and looked in the direction of the Death Palace. He led the group into it. Death Palace. Corpses and bones were everywhere. The corpses and bones were still emitting a strong aura of death. There was no black ash here. There were only millions of corpses. The surroundings of the palace were deathly silent. There was only a throne in the empty palace. A pitch-black bell lay quietly on the throne. That was the semi-divine artifact, the death bell. Patriarch, we're here. Heavenly Charm's voice resounded in the empty palace. Ning Tian and the others stepped into the palace. Looking at the corpses around them, the group's expression turned solemn. These corpses were at least tens of thousands of years old. They might have been peerless experts, but now they could only be corpses that were tortured by the aura of death. With the aura of death, their corpses could not be corroded and dissipated. The group sighed. This was the so-called forbidden land of life. Husband, I see that death bell. Su Yueyao's gaze fell on the throne not far away. The pitch-black death bell lay quietly. The group looked over. Why don't I see the lady in white that the patriarch mentioned? Old Tu frowned and looked around. But in the palace, other than the pitch-black corpses and the endless aura of death, there was no one else. Could it be that she's hiding? Old Heavenly Fox asked tentatively. Not likely. With her strength, there's no need for her to hide. Ning Tian shook his head. A golden light flashed in his eyes. He activated the Heavenly Eye superpower, but he could not find the lady in white. But he was sure that he did not see wrongly. Could it be that she did not meet any conditions to trigger it? If the lady in white was not lured out, the death bell could not be moved. Just as the group was silent, a voice came from outside the palace. Ning Buxu? Damn, I see Ning Buxu. Along with the voice, more and more auras appeared outside the palace. Ning Tian and the rest turned around and saw that the few great factions outside had all rushed over. However, they all had one thing in common, and that was that they were all in a sorry state and covered in blood. Obviously, they had suffered a lot from the death generals and the aura of death. Compared to Ning Tian and the others, their auras were stable and there were no casualties. It was a world of difference. Damn, why is Ning Buxu completely fine? Those black shadows did not cause trouble for them? They're so clean. Did they come to the Black Earth Death Mountain for a vacation? Damn it, how hateful. Seeing that Ning Tian and the others were clean and unharmed, many forces were furious. Aha, so it's you, my friends. You're quite fast. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up into a smile as he looked at the group of cultivators with a benevolent expression. A glint flashed across his eyes. Since he had tricked them, should he do it again? Hearing this, the group of forces gritted their teeth. How dare he mention it? Wait, that's the death bell. At this moment, someone finally noticed the death bell on the throne. Its pitch-black appearance was full of mystery. In an instant, the eyes of the surrounding forces became blazing. Their greedy nature was released when they encountered the death bell. Fellow Taoists, you mustn't go there. I don't think that thing is simple. It's best if you don't go there. Just as the various forces were about to make a move, Ning Tian advised them with a serious expression. Hearing this, the group of forces was stunned for a moment. Then they sneered. Huh, how ridiculous. Ning Buxu, you just lied to us once, and you want to lie to us again? I think you just want to lie to us and then go over to snatch the death bell yourself. Once bitten, twice shy. Do you really think we're stupid? The death bell, it belongs to whoever snatches it. As soon as he finished speaking, many forces rushed toward the death bell. Seeing this, Ning Tian sighed and smiled playfully. Sigh, it's hard to be a good person. No one believes the truth these days. I'm so kind. Why don't they believe me? Chapter 415. Ning Tian shrugged, indicating that it was difficult to be a good person. By the side, Elder Tu and the two white fox elders trembled when they saw Ning Tian's lips curl into a smile. Those words had definitely been deliberately said by the ancestral master. These factions had been fooled by the ancestral master again. Humph! The death bell belongs to whoever gets it. Whoever dares to stop me, I'll kill him. regardless of whether he's from the demon race or the human race. In the eternal demon territory, a demon race expert with a leopard head snorted coldly, his sharp claws glinting coldly. Ridiculous. How dare a mere demon race be so arrogant? There's no point in talking anymore. A series of cold laughs could be heard. Soon, spiritual chi, and demon chi surged continuously as experts from various forces fought one another, each strike fatal. Under the absolute temptation of the death bell, they naturally would not show mercy. Basically, every strike was fatal. Blood constantly gushed out, and corpses fell to the ground one after another, quickly turning pitch black. As for the other major forces, they watched coldly from the sidelines. Although Ning Tian was untrustworthy and shameless, they were not fools. They could tell whether Ning Tian was telling the truth with their naked eyes. If the death bell was not dangerous, given Ning Buxu's shamelessness, they would not be able to see the death bell sitting on the throne in the death palace, safe and sound. This was obviously impossible. TSK. What a pity. They're all smart people. Otherwise, I could have fooled a few of them. Seeing this, Ning Tian shook his head slightly and sighed inwardly. Whether it was the immortal dragon emperor, Di Wuji, or the two demon race experts in the endless demon abyss, they all chose to watch coldly from the sidelines. They did not act rashly because of Ning Tian's words. Even his old friend, the empty god realm emperor, waited patiently. After all, the empty god realm emperor was used to being tricked and was afraid. Ha ha ha, the death bell is mine. At this time, the battle finally ended. There were dozens of corpses around. The demon race expert with a leopard head was covered in blood. He walked out of the pool of blood, looked at the death bell in front of him, and slowly stretched out his hand. Soon, his hand was about to land on the death bell. When they saw this scene, the great powers that were watching coldly from the sidelines frowned. Could it be that that shameless old bastard Ning Buxu had finally spoken the truth for once? F***ck. So this death bell isn't dangerous. I was too careless. Little wife, let's get ready to snatch it. Right at this moment, Ning Buxu's exasperated voice resounded from the side. Many powers that had chosen to watch coldly from the side were stunned when they heard this, and they swiftly looked towards the side. Ning Buxu and the peerlessly beautiful woman by his side charged towards the death bell. What? All the powers were shocked when they witnessed this scene. Could it be that Ning Buxu has miscalculated? In an instant, all the major forces cursed under their breaths. F***ck. You, Ning Buxu, of all times to make a mistake. Why did you have to make one now? What the F***ck? Seeing that the leopard head expert was about to touch the death bell, the surrounding factions that hadn't made a move could no longer sit still. They all erupted with terrifying speed and charged towards the death bell. However, no one noticed that Ning Buxu, who was also charging towards the death bell, had a smirk on his face. When the leopard head expert saw that so many forces wanted to snatch the death bell from him, he immediately panicked. Ignoring his injuries, he increased his speed and moved towards the death bell. Almost in the next second, when his hand came into contact with the death bell, the ice-cold sensation caused his body to tremble, following which, his lips curled into a maniacal laugh. Ha ha ha, death bell, the death bell is mine. The laws on it are also mine. Ha 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 ha. Excited, maniacal laughter resounded continuously. Seeing this scene, the surrounding experts' faces turned ugly, and their speed became even faster. Something's not right. Where's Daoist Ning? Di Wuji frowned and suddenly stopped. Not far away, the immortal dragon emperor had also stopped. They both felt that something was amiss. Boom. Right at this moment, suddenly, a strong spatial fluctuation appeared on the throne, following which, a white-robed woman appeared without any warning. Her jade-like hand touched the death bell, and the aura of the laws on the death bell flowed out. Then, it shook violently. Boom. The terrifying death chi instantly engulfed the entire main hall. At the same time, a cold, emotionless voice resounded in the main hall. Those who trespass the forbidden zone shall die. As soon as the voice fell, a monstrous death chi rushed to the sky. What? Who is she? In the main hall, all the experts' faces changed drastically. However, before they could react, the death bell continued to ring and spread in all directions. The expert from the leopard head demon clan who was closest to them didn't even have a chance to react before he turned into a pile of ashes. The experts who were closer to them were the same. Even Ning Buksu and the beautiful woman who had rushed over disappeared at this moment. However, they did not turn into ashes, but a wisp of aura dissipated. F*CK. That's not Ning Buksu's real body. F*CK. He tricked us again. He's trying to kill us. Seeing this, the two experts from the Endless Demon Clan and the Endless Demon Abyss turned pale. Why is this human so cunning? Dong dong. The death bell continued to ring. The death chi swept out and rushed in all directions. Fortunately, Di Wuji and the immortal Dragon Emperor heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, they had maintained a trace of vigilance. They had almost been played to death by their ancestral master. After heaving a sigh of relief, they began to run wildly toward the exit of the Death Palace. Although they did not know the identity of the woman in white, the fact that she could control the death bell and release such a powerful death chi was enough to show how terrifying she was. Boom. Rumble. In the main hall, the death chi continued to sweep in all directions. Except for some powerful forces who had been prepared for it, the rest were swallowed by the death chi in the Death Palace. In the blink of an eye, they turned into ashes. The death bell rang. It lasted for dozens of minutes before it finally came to a stop. The death chi quietly dissipated. In the empty main hall, a thick layer of ashes appeared out of nowhere. Somewhere, the void flashed. Ning Tian and the others emerged from the void. Just as the expert from the demon clan rushed toward the death bell, Ning Tian saw a flash of strange black light through the heavenly eye divine ability. Therefore, he made a prompt decision. When he opened the void and let everyone enter the void ship, he did not forget to let Su Yueyao and him use the ethereal doppelganger to trick these experts first. Ning Buksu, a voice rang out. The two experts from the Endless Demon Clan and the Endless Demon Abyss walked in from outside the main hall. When the death bell rang, the experts who had escaped from the Death Palace returned to the main hall. When they saw Ning Buksu unscathed, they gnashed their teeth in anger. Is this thing still a human? Ning Tian ignored them and looked at the woman in white, who was sitting on the throne with the death bell in her arms. At this moment, he used the heavenly eye divine ability again. Chapter 416. A glint flashed in Ning Tian's eyes. He looked at the woman in white who was sitting on the throne and hugging the death bell. The woman in white had just unleashed a shocking amount of death chi. Then, she sat on the throne without moving an inch. He activated his heavenly eye superpower and began to analyze. When the analysis was complete, Ning Tian frowned. The only useful information the heavenly eye divine ability could glean was the name of the woman in white. As for her background, it couldn't be analyzed. Perhaps it was because it was too long ago. Bai Lu, a name he had never heard before. Ancestral Master, what should we do next? Old Tu looked at the white-clothed woman who was hugging the death bell on the throne, and his body trembled slightly. That dense, deathly aura was something that even great emperors were afraid of. Don't worry. Ning Tian shook his head slightly and looked at the white-clothed woman silently. At this moment, all the experts were watching, and no one dared to move. After all, everyone had seen how terrifying the white-clothed woman was. After a while, the deathly aura in the surroundings became denser, and all the experts could only circulate their spiritual energy to resist. However, if this continued, it would not be the same. Finally, the expert from the Crimson Blood Demon tribe could not take it anymore. He looked at the white-clothed woman, gritted his teeth, and walked over. He bowed slightly and said, "Senior, we didn't mean to. Those who trespass into the forbidden zone shall die." However, before the expert from the Crimson Blood Demon tribe could finish his words, a cold light flashed across the beautiful eyes of the white-clothed woman sitting quietly on the throne. Her jade-like hand shook the death bell slightly, and a dense, deathly aura spread out in all directions. Boom, boom. F***CK, stupid demon. What are you talking about? The group of experts in the surroundings instantly started cursing when they witnessed this scene. And then all of them utilized their life-saving methods to avoid the terrifying and surging death energy that assaulted them. The expert from the Crimson Blood Demon tribe also had an extremely ugly expression. This white-clothed woman really didn't know how to say a single word of nonsense. For a moment, when the death bell rang, the death chi in the main hall flowed endlessly. On the side, Su Yueyao's demigod aura circulated. Coupled with Ning Tian's huge spiritual sea, the group barely managed to stop the deathly aura that kept attacking them. Ning Tian's eyes were a little solemn. It seems that I can't communicate with this woman at all. After a while, the sound of the death bell finally stopped. Quite a number of experts were filled with black chi, and the dense death chi had already invaded their bodies. Damn it! Who is this woman? The faces of the group of experts were extremely ugly as they looked at the white-robed woman in a wretched state. Their eyes were filled with fear. Even demigod realm experts like the immortal Dragon Emperor and Di Wuji felt endless pressure from the white-clothed woman. It was obvious that they were no match for the white-clothed woman in the Black Death Mountain. Life Forbidden Zone, trespassers, die. The cold, emotionless voice came out from the white-clothed woman's mouth again. Her jade-like hand touched the death bell, and the deathly aura around her became even denser. F***CK. No way. She's doing it again. Seeing this, everyone's faces changed drastically. There was no end to this death chi. Yueyao, get ready to defend again. This Miss Bai Lu seems to have a bad temper. Seeing this, Ning Tian frowned and said to Su Yueyao, if the white-clothed woman continued to act like this, they would not have a chance to obtain the death bell. Su Yueyao nodded and looked solemn. Her demigod aura shrouded the group again. At this moment, when the words Lady Bai Lu came out of Ning Tian's mouth, the hand of the woman in white that was touching the death bell suddenly stopped. A glint flashed in her eyes, and a hint of gentleness appeared in them. Bai Lu? A glimmer of light appeared in his originally empty and lifeless eyes at this moment. She stopped. Quick, take advantage of this opportunity to kill her and snatch the death bell. Seeing this, the Nine Tribulations' great emperor from the Crimson Blood Demon clan saw the opportunity and turned into a cloud of black mist, rushing toward the white-clothed woman. His goal was simple, to snatch the death bell while the white-clothed woman was in a daze. As long as he snatched the death bell, the white-clothed woman would not be able to activate the deathly aura around her. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Immediately, several experts from the Crimson Blood Demon clan rushed over. However, just as they started to move, the white-clothed woman's eyes turned hollow again. Her jade-like hand shook the death bell. As the bell rang, several streams of deathly aura flew toward the experts from the Crimson Blood Demon clan. Boom. At this moment, the deathly aura devoured the demonic aura and entered their bodies. Accompanied by a series of screams, the experts from the Crimson Blood Demon clan turned into ashes and disappeared quietly. Hiss! What a terrifying deathly aura! Seeing this scene, many experts gasped. A Nine Tribulations' great emperor was gone just like that. This deathly aura was terrifying. Seeing this, Ning Tian shook his head slightly and sighed inwardly. If this Nine Tribulations' great emperor from the Crimson Blood Demon clan could be suppressed by his Buddha Demon Tower, then the second layer of the seal would more or less be lifted. Unfortunately, Bai Lu's speed of controlling the death bell was too fast. Even a Nine Tribulations' great emperor from the Crimson Blood Demon clan could not resist at all. After killing the experts from the Crimson Blood Demon clan at lightning speed, the emptiness in Bai Lu's eyes faded again. She looked at Ning Tian and took a step forward. In the blink of an eye, she stepped across the void and came to Ning Tian's side. Her aura had already merged with the Black Death Mountain and was unrestricted. Husband, be careful. The moment Bai Lu appeared in front of Ning Tian, Su Yueyao stood in front of Ning Tian. The demigod aura in her hand surged. No matter how strong Bai Lu was, she would not let Ning Tian suffer any harm. I'm not looking for you. I'm looking for him. Bai Lu hugged the death bell and looked at Ning Tian indifferently. Her voice was cold and merciless. Sui Weiyao frowned slightly. She activated the demigod aura and refused to back down. Seeing this, Ning Tian pondered for a moment, then gently took Su Yueyao's lily-white hand and shook his head slightly at her. If Bai Lu wanted to make a move, she would have done it long ago. He looked at Bai Lu and asked, "Miss Bai Lu, why are you looking for me?" Bai Lu, it should be 2,000,000 years. The woman in white frowned, and the emptiness in her eyes faded a lot. She looked at Ning Tian and asked, how do you know my name?" Well, hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He pondered for a moment and said, "Maybe we're fated?" He could not explain that it was the information analyzed by the system's heavenly eye magic, could he? Therefore, all the inexplicable reasons were attributed to the word fate. Hearing this, Bai Lu fell silent. The death aura on her body gradually thickened. She stared at Ning Tian and opened her red lips slightly. Then, do you know reincarnation, Tao God? Author's note, there's one more update. It's late again today. Sorry, it's mainly because I'm feeling very uncomfortable. There's a big plot, but I can't write it. I'm stuck in dialogue and action. I'm really sorry. Chapter 417. Reincarnation Tao God? Hearing Bai Lu's words, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He slowly shook his head and said, "Reincarnation Tao God. I don't know him." Bai Lu fell silent again. Seeing Ning Tian talking with the terrifying woman in white, Di Wuji, the Eternal Dragon Emperor, and the other experts were stunned. Why did Ning Tian know the woman in white? Could it be that he was really here for a vacation? Or could it be that the patriarch had used his handsome looks to attract this woman named Bai Lu? Could he really do whatever he wanted because he was handsome? I don't have time to explain to you. Come with me. Bai Lu's eyes became more and more hollow. She shook her head slightly and didn't explain much. The death bell in her arms suddenly shook and she waved her hand. Then, the void fluctuated. In the blink of an eye, she appeared in a space with Ning Tian. What are you going to do? Ning Tian frowned slightly and looked at Bai Lu. The spiritual qi in his hand quietly ran. If there was something wrong with Bai Lu, he wouldn't be tied up. It was just a space. As long as he wanted to go out, he could run the power of the void at any time. Bai Lu didn't say anything and moved her hand slightly. Then, in the entire space, images kept appearing. It was a back view that stepped on reincarnation and looked down on the heroes. The images kept flashing. Some were killing enemies, some were looking at the world with hatred, some were killing demons with one palm, and some were unwilling to die. In the end, all the images were fixed on a vast sea. In the deep sea, the Taoist heart slowly dissipated. The images then disappeared. Ning Tian frowned, and the shock in his eyes slowly dissipated. This figure was definitely an expert above the God realm. The images were definitely in the God realm. However, the last scene, the endless sea, it seemed that it was in the endless sea of the firmament territory. Looking at the endless sea, Ning Tian thought of the information about the ancient god relic that Heavenly Charm had mentioned. Could this image be related to that? That is, the reincarnation Tao God you mentioned? Ning Tian looked at Bai Lu. Yes. Bai Lu nodded. So, why are you showing me these? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows slightly. I want you to bring me out of the Black Earth Death Mountain and bring me to him, Bai Lu said calmly. Benefits. Ning Tian didn't beat around the bush and went straight to the point. His meaning was very obvious. If there were benefits, they would do it. If there were no benefits, they would drop it. After all, the ancestral master was a very realistic person. I can give you the death bell and the law of death as long as you bring them out and let me see him once. Bai Lu's beautiful eyes fell on Ning Tian. Her eyes gradually lost their luster and became empty. Not enough. Ning Tian shook his head and said lightly, if he chose to help White Willow, the degree of danger would be unknown. Even if there were benefits, the dangers along the way would be unknown. If it was just the death bell and the law of death, it would not move him. Bai Lu was silent. He looked at Ning Tian and continued. What if the law of death was born from 2 million years of deathly aura? I even have the chance to give you the inheritance of a Tao god. Inheritance. Hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes flashed. If the law of death was born from 2 million years of deathly aura, it would be much more powerful than the ordinary law of death. He had heard about how terrifying the deathly aura was along the way. As for the inheritance, it would be even more tempting. Why me? Ning Tian asked. Because only heavenly gods can enter the place where he fell. Bai Lu didn't say anything unnecessary. Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned. He pondered for a while and nodded slightly. What about you? Don't you want to introduce yourself? Me? I'm just a little maid who has followed him for hundreds of thousands of years. I've chased him for 1 million years and accidentally entered the Forbidden Land. If you didn't mention my name and awaken my consciousness, I'm still just the guardian of the Black Earth Death Mountain. Bai Lu's tone was calm. After 1 million years, she had become numb. So, you're already a dead person? Ning Tian frowned. I've been dead for a long time. If it wasn't for my soul remaining in this death bell, I would have disappeared from the world long ago. Bai Lu said faintly, however, you'd better be careful. Be careful of what? Be careful of the Death Palace's death generals. You should know that the Forbidden Land has an owner. Bai Lu said. The next moment, the space disappeared. Ning Tian reappeared in the main hall of the Death Palace. Husband? Ancestral master? Seeing Ning Tian suddenly appear, Sui Weiao and the others were overjoyed. The worry in their eyes gradually faded. They were worried that Ning Tian had disappeared into thin air. Husband, are you okay? A fragrant wind blew. In front of him, Sui Weiao looked at him worriedly. I'm fine. Ning Tian shook his head slightly and frowned. He looked around and asked, where's Bai Lu? The main hall was empty. Bai Lu's shadow was nowhere to be seen. Tian Mei frowned and looked at the black bell in Ning Tian's hand. She couldn't help but ask, I don't know where Bai Lu is, but isn't the death bell in your hands? Ning Tian was stunned for a moment. He raised his hand slightly, and the death bell appeared in his hand, swirling with black energy. At the same time, Bai Lu's voice sounded in his mind. I'm temporarily hiding in the death bell. Only then can you take me out. Hearing this, Ning Tian nodded slightly. However, he was still not used to hearing someone else's voice in his mind. After all, he was not used to hearing someone else's voice after listening to the system too much. The death bell is in Ning Buxu's hands. When they saw Ning Tian reappear in the main hall, everyone looked at him and saw the death bell in his hand, although they didn't know where the white-robed lady went. However, the death bell was indeed in Ning Buxu's hands. For a moment, everyone looked at each other with greed in their eyes. However, at this moment, there was a roar in the Death Palace. Then, the torrential death chi flowed and spread in all directions. The black shadows on the ground stood up. They were the Death Generals. It's these black shadows again. The death bell didn't ring. Seeing more and more Death Generals around them, the surrounding forces looked terrible. Daoist Ning, the owner of the Black Earth Death Mountain, has begun to interfere. Bai Lu's voice came from the death bell and entered Ning Tian's mind. The owner of the Black Earth Death Mountain? Hearing this, Ning Tian's face changed. Although he was a little confused, the most important thing now was to clear the surrounding Death Generals. In the Death Palace, thousands of black shadows appeared. Their aura was far stronger than before. Daoist Ning, the Death Chi is afraid of the Divine Thunder. Bai Lu said again, Divine Thunder? Ning Tian was stunned. He squinted his eyes and an idea came to his mind. System, use. 100,000 times power amplification card. Author's words, first of all, I'm sorry. I'm not in the mood today. I'm not satisfied with what I wrote. It might be rubbish. I'm really sorry. I didn't write well about the Black Earth Death Mountain, a forbidden zone for life. I'll speed up the plot. Chapter 418. Tisk. Sk. Inside the Death Palace, Wisps of death aura permeated the air and continued to spread in all directions. Strange, ear-piercing screams resounded throughout the entire palace. All the pitch-black corpses in the surroundings turned into black ashes at this moment. Next, under the shroud of the deathly aura, ghostly black shadows crawled out from the ground. This scene was like a ghost from hell, and it was extremely terrifying. It's all those ghostly black shadows. They're all death generals. There are tens of thousands of them. We're finished. We're finished. We're all going to die here. The entire hall was filled with noises. The rustling noises made everyone's scalp go numb. Even the few demigod realm experts present had grave expressions on their faces when they saw this scene. Oh no, there are also death generals outside the Death Palace, and they're all heading towards the Death Palace. At this moment, a cry filled with despair rang out, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Everyone looked out of the Death Palace and saw waves of black fog surging. Ghostly black shadows flashed in the black fog and charged towards the Death Palace. They were densely packed, and the eerie cries of the death generals sounded like ferocious ghosts on the mountain top. Seeing this scene, even Diwuji and the others had ugly expressions on their faces. Tens of thousands of death generals, in the Black Death Mountain where they could not use the void ability. Even if they were demigod realm experts, they would still die if they were careless and were eroded by the deathly aura. The forbidden land of life was no joke. Ancestral Master, what should we do? At this moment, the immortal Dragon Emperor found his target and immediately came over, looking at Ning Tian with a smile. He was smart enough to know that he had to cozy up to Ning Tian. Ning Tian was silent. He had already activated the 100,000 times power amplification card and was thinking about how to maximize its power. As for the immortal Dragon Emperor coming over, he did not refuse. At this time, it was extremely good to have a strong assistant. Moreover, the immortal Dragon Emperor was more of an ally than an enemy. After all, he still had the indestructible dragon scale. If the indestructible Dragon Emperor were to die, he might lose some of his battle prowess. Diwuji and Void God Emperor frowned when they saw the cunning immortal Dragon Emperor running to the Patriarch's side. They wanted to curry favor with the immortal Dragon Emperor as well, but one was too embarrassed to do so, and the other was afraid of being tricked. Jia. In the surroundings, more and more death generals surrounded over. Many powerhouses had already started fighting. Hubby, the death general is coming, Sui Weiyao said. Spiritual qi surged around her. At the same time, the immortal Dragon Emperor and the other experts of the Dragon Clan also prepared for battle. Chapter 419. Above the Death Palace, thunder roared in the sky filled with black fog. Tens of millions of thunder dragons could be vaguely seen surging. Waves of dragon aura spread in all directions. Seeing this, the immortal Dragon Emperor frowned. Why was this dragon aura so similar to his? From the looks of it, he seemed to be even stronger than himself. Boom. Rumble. Thunder roared continuously as if a tribulation transcendence was happening. Inside the Dead Palace, many powerhouses looked at this scene and froze in place. Was Daoist Ning planning to demolish the Dead Palace? With so many thunder tribulations, facing so many death generals, that scene. Heavenly annihilation thunder tribulation. Fall. Not far away, Ning Tian's spirit qi surged. His robe fluttered in the wind as he slammed his palm down heavily. At the same time, around the Death Palace, tens of millions of Daoist Nings were doing the same thing. Tens of millions of divine thunderbolts struck down heavily. That scene stunned many cultivators. Boom. So powerful. Such divine power. Is this Ning Buxu's strength? A group of cultivators exclaimed. Soon, their expressions changed drastically as they ran for their lives. No. F***CK. Ning Buxu has included us in his attack range. F***CK. Let's run. We'll die if we're hit by this. I knew it. This guy wouldn't be so kind as to save us. For a moment, the death generals pounced on the divine thunderbolts and turned into black ashes in the blink of an eye. Many cultivators, including Di Wuji and the others, sprinted towards the exit of the Death Palace. Oh my god. Daoist Ning must be crazy. The moment Ning Tian's divine thunderbolt struck, he opened the void and summoned a void ship for everyone to hide inside. Even he could not estimate the power of the tens of millions of divine thunderbolts, coupled with the ethereal enchantment and the 100,000 times power amplification card. Boom, boom. After Di Wuji and the others ran for their lives, thunder rumbled around the Death Palace for more than 10 minutes. According to the memories of the cultivators outside of the Black Death Mountain, they saw a sudden clap of thunder in the originally dark Black Death Mountain. Then, a small ray of light appeared in the mountain. In the daytime, thunder rumbled as tens of millions of figures flickered. Following that, the Black Earth Death Mountain trembled continuously. It was as though there was a demolition team working in the Dead Mountain. At that moment, one of the little lions widened its eyes and grew a lot. 10 minutes later, the silhouette of the Death Palace was still there. All that was left was a ruin and a mess on the ground. The surrounding black ash was swept away by the lightning tribulation, and the death aura was much thinner. Hiss, oh my god. On a nearby mountain, Di Wuji and the others were in a sorry state, but they had no time to care. Their eyes were fixed on the Death Palace, which had been reduced to rubble. Their eyes were filled with shock. The Death Palace is gone? What kind of joke is this? This is a building in the life-forbidden zone. How could Daoist Ning tear it down so quickly? Not to mention the Death Generals. Even the surrounding black ash was scattered by the lightning tribulation. Even the Death Palace was turned into ruins. How terrifying! Di Wuji swallowed his saliva and looked at the scene in shock. Although he wanted to spar with Daoist Ning, what if Daoist Ning chose to spar in the Limitless God Dynasty? If he used that move just now, he was afraid that the hundreds of thousands of years of accumulation of the Limitless God Dynasty would be reduced to nothing in a second. As for Old Su, he was so scared that his face turned pale. Above the ruins, a spatial fluctuation appeared, and Ning Tian's group walked out from the void. When they saw the mess and the ruins, they couldn't help but be speechless. The power of tens of millions of ancestral masters attacking was indeed extraordinary. Roar! The ceiling flame Lion King widened its eyes and looked at the ruins. Its eyes were bright, and it seemed to have understood a lot. Oh my god, this is the power that Master Lion wants. My heaven-demolishing gate patriarch is truly extraordinary. He really can demolish the Forbidden Zone. Hiss! If I, Master Lion, can master this move, then I, Master Lion, will definitely reach the pinnacle of demolition. I will live for demolition, die for demolition, and fight for demolition for my entire life. Roar! Woohoo! For all. The immortal Dragon Emperor didn't know what the old ancestor was muttering, but he couldn't help but shudder uncontrollably. He suddenly felt that the place where the immortal dragon race had moved to was a little unsafe. Looks like the effect of this 100,000 power amplification card is pretty good. Ning Tian nodded in satisfaction when he saw the power of this move. You shocked the ceiling flame Lion King. You have shocked Di Wuji. You scared the Void God Emperor so much that he peed his pants. You've shocked the Drought Demon powerhouses. Reward skill card, shoplifting, one-time skill card. Effect, the literal meaning. The host can understand it on his own. After all, the system's products have always been the best. The host doesn't need to doubt it. Ning Tian was silent for a moment, the corner of his mouth twitching. Shoplifting? System? Are you sure this isn't shoplifting? The system was indeed a system. It could always come up with such a grand name. Cough, cough. The host is doing what a decent person does. Is that considered shoplifting? Who would steal from a decent person? Would you steal? Anyway, I don't steal. The system's serious voice rang in his mind. Hearing this, Ning Tian was speechless. I'm the one who used this skill card, not you. Of course you don't steal. He shook his head slightly and sighed. Then, he silently put away the shoplifting skill card. This thing should come in handy someday, right? Brother Ning, leave the Black Death Mountain quickly. Otherwise, when the owner of the Black Death Mountain wakes up, you might At this moment, Bai Lu's voice rang in his mind, and the death bell hidden in the storage ring flickered. However, before she could finish speaking, she stopped abruptly. Bai Lu? Ning Tian froze for a moment and tried to call out. However, there was no response. Suddenly, he frowned and looked at Su Yueyao and the others with a dignified expression. Yueyao, let's get ready to leave. And Su Yueyao nodded lightly. However, at this moment, the entire Black Death Mountain shook violently. Then, that dense death aura continued to sweep out. It spread in all directions. Death aura, the death aura is coming again. On the surrounding mountains, some surviving cultivators were instantly enveloped. In the blink of an eye, they turned into black ashes. Not good. Let's leave quickly. Feeling the surrounding death aura gradually thickening, Ning Tian hurriedly said to Su Yueyao and the others. His figure moved and was about to leave. But at this moment, a terrifying death aura suddenly burst toward Ning Tian. The speed was so fast that there was no time to react at all. Dong! At this moment, the sound of the death bell suddenly rang. In front of him was a beautiful figure in white. Chapter 420. Dong! Dong! The deathly aura flowed out. Bai Lu appeared in front of Ning Tian. The death bell in her arms kept ringing. The deathly aura was instantly blocked by the sound of the death bell. At the same time, Ning Tian had time to react. His footsteps were like a dragon as he took a step back. Su Yueyao also released her demigod aura and landed in front of Ning Tian. The deathly aura was extremely terrifying. Even she had to take it seriously. It's that woman. Di Wuji and the others narrowed their eyes when they saw Bai Lu suddenly appear. However, judging from the woman's actions just now, she seemed to be protecting Ning Buxu. When he saw the two women in front of Daoist Ning shielding him, Di Wuji felt that he had lost. He had lost completely. Where did this deathly aura come from? Su Yueyao frowned slightly. Her beautiful eyes were filled with seriousness. Death Master. Death Master. Bai Lu's expression remained calm the entire time. In her current state, she did not show any emotions. Death Master? Ning Tian and Su Yueyao were stunned when they heard this. Could it be the master of the Black Death Mountain's life-restricted zone? Ning Tian quickly thought of something. Bai Lu had said in the space that every life-restricted zone was not ownerless but had a master. Boom. In an instant, in the sky, black aura filled the air. The deathly aura flowed out. The entire Black Death Mountain was filled with black ashes and turned into death generals. They were endless and were 100 times more numerous than before. Jia, the death general's strange cries were constantly heard. It was like a demonic sound. Seeing this, Di Wuji and the other experts turned pale instantly. There was a trace of despair in their eyes. They kept muttering to themselves, "There are so many of them. Is this the so-called life-restricted zone? Could it be even the demigod realm experts were going to die here?" A few hundred times, Ning Tian looked around. His eyes were filled with seriousness. This time, he did not have a 100,000 times amplification card. Moreover, there were so many death generals. Even if he had one, it would be useless. Boom. At this moment, there was a rumbling sound. In the Black Earth Death Mountain, all the death generals stood where they were, as if they were welcoming their king. Bai Lu, where are you going? Inside the Black Soil Death Mountain, a strange voice that was neither male nor female echoed in the surroundings. It was impossible to tell where the voice came from. Hearing this, the expressions of the group of experts changed drastically as fear surfaced in their hearts. This voice, it was the existence in the Black Earth Death Mountain. The master of the Black Earth Death Mountain. That was a being that no one had seen for millions of years, but today, it had actually been alarmed. Should they cry? Or should he laugh? Death Overlord? Hearing this strange sound, Ning Tian frowned. His eyes were grave. Su Yueyao hurriedly channeled her demigod aura to protect him. The master of the Forbidden Zone. They were all unknown and terrifying existences. I'm going to look for him. Bai Lu's expression did not change as he said indifferently, "Him? He's already dead." Even if you go, it won't help. In the Black Earth Death Mountain, the voice of the Death Overlord resounded throughout the Forbidden Zone. His voice could be heard everywhere. I'm still going. I've guarded for you for 2 million years. Our agreement has been fulfilled. Bai Lu continued. This time, she was met with a long silence. Nothing will change even if you go. After leaving the Black Earth Death Mountain, you might disappear at any time. I won't let you go. The voice of the Death Overlord was emotionless. Bai Lu did not finish her words. Her actions had proven everything. She had to go. 2 million years had passed in the blink of an eye. However, once she recalled the past, time seemed to have slowed down. Moreover, this human brat destroyed my death palace and killed my death generals. He doesn't put me in his eyes. I won't let him take you away. Moreover, he can't leave the Black Earth Death Mountain. The voice of the Death Overlord resounded again. This time, his words were directed at Ning Tian. Although he did not see the Death Master, Ning Tian felt a terrifying gaze land on him the moment he said those words. At the same time, the deathly aura in the Black Earth Death Mountain began to thicken. A transcendent aura rushed towards Ning Tian. In an instant, he found it difficult to breathe. The deathly aura continued to attack him. Husband. Seeing this, Su Yueyao's face changed. She quickly used her demigod aura to help Ning Tian resist. At this moment, the sound of the death bell spread out. Bai Lu, you want to help him? The voice of the Death Overlord became a little impatient. Only he can bring me to him. Bai Lu's voice was calm. The death bell in his arms kept ringing. All right, if that's the case, don't blame me for not taking into account our 2 million years of friendship. As soon as the voice of the Death Overlord resounded, a black fog appeared in the sky. A giant hand formed by the deathly aura pressed down on the group. The boundless aura was far beyond that of a demigod. Hold on, Death Overlord. Are you sure you dare to hurt him? At this moment, the voice of a young man resounded in the sky. Another almighty expert? Seeing this, Di Wuji and the rest were shocked. It's you. The giant hand formed by the deathly aura stopped. The voice seemed to be surprised. I didn't expect you to still be alive. A human actually has a vitality that is comparable to that of the life forbidden zone. Of course I'm alive. My mission is not over yet. The hearty voice resounded in the sky. Are you sure you want to hurt him? Why wouldn't I dare? The Death Overlord asked. If you dare, you can check his body constitution. As soon as the voice died down, Ning Tian clearly felt a strand of divine sense pass through her body. He's actually. The Death Overlord's voice was solemn. No wonder he could destroy my death palace formed by the deathly aura with his bare hands. Although he hasn't grown up yet, but if you still dare to hurt him, I might as well tell you some news. His first wife is the descendant of the sacred sun god. I don't need to tell you how protective he is. As for his second wife, she has the bloodline of the demon god, nine-tailed celestial fox. If these few join forces, even if they can't flatten your Black Death Mountain, they should be able to make your tens of millions of years of hard work go to waste, right? Death Overlord, are you sure you want to continue? The voice slowly resounded in the sky. As soon as the words came out, the Black Death Mountain fell into a long silence. Everyone trembled in fear as they looked at the surrounding death generals and the deathly aura that was constantly spreading. After a long time, forget it, a sigh sounded. Then, the surrounding death generals turned into black ashes, and the deathly aura quietly retreated. Seeing this scene, Di Wuji and the rest widened their eyes. Daoist Ning's background actually scared this Death Overlord away? Chapter 421. At this moment, Di Wuji and the others looked at Ning Tian in a different light. Di Wuji furrowed his brows as a grave look appeared on his dignified face. As the emperor of the Wuji divine dynasty, he naturally had some understanding of the deity plane and had heard of the name of Saint Sun God. That person was the lord of the endless fire territory. Fellow Daoist Ning is actually related to this old man? And the nine-tailed celestial fox. a demon god almighty. At this moment, Di Wuji felt that he was far inferior to Ning Buxu in terms of background, strength, and future. Was he worthy to spar with him? It was no wonder. Taoist Ning would decline every time he sparred with him. Perhaps he was giving him face? Did he not want to embarrass him? Di Wuji looked at Ning Tian with a complicated gaze. There was respect, admiration, and a trace of unwillingness. As for the Void God Emperor, he was already trembling in fear. He almost cried. If not for the crowd, he would have run over and admitted defeat. Oh no, he would have admitted defeat. You shocked Di Wuji. You shocked the Void God Emperor. You shocked the Immortal Dragon Emperor. You shocked the Drought Demon race. Reward: Nomological Laws Absorption card. Effect: Increase speed, strengthen absorption, and perfect nomological laws. While the crowd was still in shock, the system's voice kept ringing in Ning Tian's mind. Ning Tian was stunned. He coughed and said, "Ahem, keep a low profile, keep a low profile." Those who did not know better would think that he was a man who lived off women. Seriously, did Ning Tian look like a man who lived off women? He just had bad teeth. It was easy for him to grit his teeth. That was all. However, he knew that his little wife had the bloodline of the nine-tailed fox. With the bloodline of the nine-tailed fox, even if she went to the realm of the gods, the nine-tailed fox, as a demon god almighty, would not turn a blind eye to her bloodline successor. After all, not everyone had the bloodline of the nine-tailed celestial fox. However, this was the first time he had heard of the sacred Sun Empyrean god. He had never heard of the sacred Sun Empyrean god's name from Luo Wuqing. However, Ning Tian frowned slightly and pondered for a while. Although the name Sacred Sun God was unfamiliar to him, he remembered another name. It was the constitution that Luo Wuqing possessed, the Sacred Sun Constitution. Chapter 2:14. The system said, "Host, you finally remembered. Thank goodness I didn't waste my breath explaining to you." Ning Tian. When I return to the heavenly spirit region and see my wife, I can ask her about it in detail. Ning Tian muttered and quickly made up his mind. Since he was living off a woman, he had to do it all the way. No, he was just curious about his first wife's background. Human, consider yourself lucky today. If it were a normal person who tore down my death palace, I would definitely suppress him under the death mountain and absorb the death chi for millions of years. I would make him beg for death. The Death Lord's cold snort resounded through the sky and echoed throughout the Black Death Mountain. It was obvious that she was very unhappy at the moment. The death chi in the Black Death Mountain trembled with her voice. Upon hearing this, many cultivators trembled and their eyes were filled with fear. Being suppressed under the Death Mountain and absorbing the death chi for millions of years was a torture that no one could bear, no matter how strong their willpower was. Oh, the flame-sealing Lion King howled and immediately hid behind the immortal Dragon Emperor. Damn! Fortunately, it wasn't Master Lion who tore down the Death Palace. It was my ancestor who tore down the Gate of Heaven. Otherwise, the flame-sealing Lion King trembled at the thought. The immortal Dragon Emperor looked at it with a head full of question marks. Why was this ancestor so different from when he was in the Dragon Tribe? He was no longer as majestic as before. It was really strange. After the Death Overlord finished speaking, he looked at Bai Lu, who had a cold expression on his face. Bai Lu, if you can't find him, you are always welcome to come back to the Black Death Mountain. Perhaps, Bai Lu said calmly. The two living beings in the Black Death Mountain began to talk. Ning Tian frowned when he heard the Death Lord's words. A glint flashed in his eyes. As the owner of the Life Forbidden Zone, the Death Lord should have a lot of good stuff, right? It shouldn't be too much for me to take something from it, right? I just need to do it secretly. System, use the shoplifting skill card. Target, Death Lord. Ning Tian muttered in his heart. Using shoplifting skill card. Use successful. Bai Lu was still talking to the Death Lord when the system's voice faded. Bai Lu, only the Black Death Mountain can maintain your current state for a long time. If you... who is it? The Death Lord's voice sounded at this moment. Suddenly, the voice trembled. The strange voice, which was originally indistinguishable from a man's or a woman's, suddenly became clear. It was a pleasant female voice with a hint of imperial voice. In the end, it seemed to have lost its sense of propriety. The owner of the Black Death Mountain is a woman? Hiss! That female voice indeed fell into the ears of many cultivators in the surroundings. They were all shocked and widened their eyes. No one expected it. The existence that had been in charge of the Black Death Mountain for tens of millions of years was actually a woman with a very pleasant voice. It's a woman? Sui Weiao frowned and looked at Ning Tian, who was a little unnatural. She couldn't help but feel puzzled, and a hint of worry appeared in her eyes. Hubby, are you okay? Cough. I'm fine. Ning Tian waved his hand. Although he was fine, it was very unnatural. He was a little flustered in his heart. F***CK. System, get out here. What kind of thing are you holding? He roared in his heart. Before the Death Master's voice had even sounded, he already knew that the Death Master was a woman. Don't ask why. He asked because of the armor that the woman in his arms was wearing. Damn it, of all the things to hold, why did you have to hold this thing? It was an existence that couldn't be provoked. System, is it exciting? Host? Ning Tian, I'm not exciting, you big star. He rolled his eyes. The breastplate in his arms still had a hint of warmth and fragrance. This was at least a divine artifact, but it was a pity that he couldn't adjust the size. If he did, his little wife's figure wouldn't be able to wear it. His first wife with a better figure should be able to wear it. As for returning it to the Death Lord, Ning Tian didn't even think about it. Although it was a piece of personal clothing, it was still a divine artifact. Since it was in his hands, it was fated to be with him. It was impossible for him to return it. Just as Ning Tian was thinking carefully, he suddenly felt a gaze with a hint of shame and anger fall on him. Huh? You found out it's me? Author's words. It's good for your health to stay up late writing. Cough cough. I made this armor. You can just treat it as a modern thing. Good night. No, good morning. When you wake up in the afternoon, continue writing and posting. There are still 2 more chapters. Chapter 422. The moment that angry gaze landed on Ning Tian, his expression changed slightly. He hurriedly put the breastplate into his storage ring without batting an eyelid. What just happened? Ning Tian said that he did not know anything. Boom. The deathly aura suddenly circulated and spread in all directions. Huh. Bai Lu was stunned when he saw this scene. Give it back to me. The voice of the dead lord sounded again. Since her voice had been exposed, she simply used her original voice instead of the strange voice of a man and a woman. Her voice was cold and a little angry. Her things. Give it back to her? Di Wuji and the others were stunned when they heard this. They were puzzled. Who was so bold to touch this existence's things? At this moment, all the deathly aura around them pointed at Ning Tian. Di Wuji and the others coughed when they saw this scene. It was the ancestral master? Then it was fine. She was indeed the ancestral master. She even dared to touch the dead lord's things. Things? What things? I don't know anything. Ning Tian coughed and whistled to show that he was a good person. He did not know anything. If you have the ability, tell me what you lost. Since she was the ancestral master, she had to be shameless to the extreme. This was in line with the ancestral master's behavior. If she was not shameless, she was not the ancestral master. Hearing this, the dead lord's voice suddenly stopped. She seemed to be gritting her teeth and was at a loss. Even if she was the master of the Black Death Mountain and one of the ancient existences in the world, she could not say that Ning Tian took her underwear in front of so many people. After all, she was still a woman. You are shameless. The dead lord's words were helpless. If it was an ordinary person, she would not have said so much nonsense. She would have directly hit him with the deathly aura. What the eye did not see, the heart did not grieve over. However, this shameless person was not only extraordinary, but also had a terrifying background. Thank you for the compliment, Ning Tian said with a smile. The voice of the Death Lord instantly disappeared without a trace. However, From the chaotic death energy of the Black Earth Death Mountain, it could be seen that she was going crazy. Didn't I just cultivate for a few million years? Since when had the human race become so shameless? Not far away, he saw this scene. Di Wuji's eyes widened as he looked at Ning Tian. His heart was filled with frustration. He suddenly understood. It seemed that in terms of looks and face, he couldn't compare to fellow Taoist Ning. Haha. Death, you have already made things difficult for them. Treat the things that you have lost as a gift for them. That hearty laughter once again sounded in the sky at an extremely inappropriate time. Death Overlord, she was speechless and a little mad. Your family is giving clothes-fitting clothes like a corset as a gift. Damn fortune teller. Shut up. The cold voice of the Death Lord resounded as he shouted at the sky. Then, the surrounding deathly aura gradually calmed down. Fine, I'll give this to you. Also, hurry up and leave the Black Earth Death Mountain. Bai Lu, I hope you remember my words. The Black Earth Death Mountain welcomes you back at any time. This will be your second home. As soon as he finished speaking, the Black Earth Death Mountain became quiet again. The voice of the Death Lord didn't sound again. In the sky, the black aura slowly dissipated. Then, the surrounding deathly aura receded, forming a path without any deathly aura. It seemed that the Death Lord couldn't wait for Ning Tian and the others to leave quickly. I will, Bai Lu said indifferently. Then, his figure slowly dissipated. The death bell flickered with a black light and fell into Ning Tian's hand. Everyone, is there anyone else who wants to snatch the death bell from me? Ning Tian held the death bell in his hand and looked at the group of experts around him. Everyone was silent. Who would dare to attack Ning Tian now? The Death Lord was still here, and there was even a mysterious expert in the sky. These people seemed to be standing beside Ning Buxu. If you dare to move, you dare to die. No need. Di Wuji waved his hand slightly and said slowly, I see that the death bell is fated to be with Brother Ning. How can we snatch other people's opportunities? Yes. The death bell is fated to be with Brother Ning. There were sounds of agreement around them. Seeing this scene, the corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up slightly. Like he said, this death bell was indeed fated with him. It was a pity that the devil race had fled too quickly. Otherwise, he would have been able to suppress them. Hubby, what did you take from the Death Lord? At this time, Sui Weiyao couldn't help but ask curiously. Well, it's a secret. Ning Tian smiled mysteriously, causing Sui Weiyao to roll her eyes in resentment. He couldn't be blamed for this. Although the second wife's figure was good, she still couldn't wear the breastplate and would appear out of place. Only the first wife's perfect figure could completely wear the breastplate. After all, the breastplate couldn't be adjusted by itself. However, should he give his concubine a chest massage to enrich her breasts? Otherwise, if there were such good things in the future, wouldn't it be a waste? There was a reason why he didn't tell the second wife. If he did, wouldn't his image as a decent ancestral master be ruined? Ahaha. Let's go. Ning Tian glanced at the passageway and said to the group, Ancestral Master, let's meet in the Heavenly Fox Valley. Just as everyone was about to leave, the young man's voice sounded in the sky. Okay. Ning Tian nodded slightly. This damn fortune teller was rarely reliable. He also had many doubts, waiting for Chen Gaojiang to explain. This trip, it seemed to let him know a lot of things that he didn't know before. Soon, the group left the Black Death Mountain. In the Black Death Mountain, the Death Qi returned to its rich state. One by one, the Death Generals wandered in the mountain forest. In a pitch-black hall, a beautiful figure in black sat in the hall. In the dark space, her appearance couldn't be seen clearly. Her long black hair just reached her waist. At this moment, she had her arms crossed in front of her chest. A small voice murmured, Damn it, he actually stole my breastplate. What a shameless human. This is the first time I've seen such a shameless heavenly god body. However, I didn't expect that the 10th heavenly god body would appear. If he goes to the divine domain, I'm afraid the divine domain will become more interesting. Moreover, that guy's background seems to be a bit too big. The previous heavenly god bodies all started from scratch. Why is it that this guy has become a little different? Really? Interesting. As his voice faded, the pitch-black hall was filled with endless darkness. Chapter 423. When the group of people walked out of the Black Death Mountain and prepared to return to the Skyfox Valley, Ning Tian did not forget to collect his small fortune. Although the tens of billions of spirit coins were not much, it was still an unexpected fortune. In the deep forest outside the Black Death Mountain, there were still many cultivators waiting. They did not know what had happened in the Life Forbidden Zone. Let's go and take a look. This is an essential elixir to enter the Black Death Mountain. Take one, and you'll be able to ignore the death chi. There hasn't been a bad review since its opening. It's very cheap. The sounds of hawking continued to ring out. F***, you lousy Taoist priest, how dare you sell me fake elixirs? I'll give you a bad review now. At this moment, several auras appeared in the Black Death Mountain. Many cultivators walked out of the Black Death Mountain. Although there were only 1/10 of the people who went in, it was still quite a number. Fellow Taoist, you're not dead? The Taoist priest who was selling the elixirs changed his expression slightly. He touched his small beard and narrowed his eyes. If you're not dead, won't I get a bad review? F***. So this is the reason why your elixirs didn't get a bad review. Those who ate it are all dead. F***. Damn Taoist priest, die. Wait, a hero shouldn't hit the face. Screams could be heard endlessly. Seeing this scene, many of the surrounding cultivators were a little surprised. This time, there seemed to be more people coming out of the Black Soil Death Mountain. Could it be that something unexpected had happened in the Black Earth Death Mountain? Not far away, beside the wooden platform, the manager of the Windfall Pavilion looked at the crowd with a smile. It seems that the Death Bell has found a new owner. I wonder if it's the Wuji dynasty or some other popular sect. He thought happily in his heart. No matter which popular power obtained the Death Bell, his Windfall Pavilion would be able to make a huge profit. As long as you bet more, you might make a small profit, but I will never lose money. Hey, brother manager, are you waiting for me? At this moment, a laughter sounded. A group of people walked toward the Windfall Pavilion from the Black Death Mountain. This is Ning Buksu? Seeing Ning Tian, the manager of the Windfall Pavilion trembled and became nervous. After all, this time, Ning Tian had come in his true appearance. His handsome face was well known in the Primal Chaos Imperial domain. This was especially true for profiteers and bandits like them who worshipped Ning Buksu. They were all researching how to rob 1,000,000 cultivators. Fellow Taoist Ning. I wonder why fellow Taoist Ning is looking for my sudden wealth pavilion? Although he was a little nervous, the manager of the Windfall Pavilion still maintained his professional integrity. He raised a smile and looked at Ning Tian. Oh. Nothing. I'm just here to collect the money. Ning Tian replied with an "oh." After that, he glanced at the wooden sign behind the manager. The spirit coins on it had already reached a sky-high price of 50 billion spirit coins. Oh? Hearing this, the manager of the Sudden Wealth Pavilion raised his eyebrows. Why didn't he remember that Ning Buksu had also placed a bet? But it didn't matter. Ning Buksu had robbed 1,000,000 cultivators. It was impossible for him to be poor. As long as Ning Buksu placed a lot of bets, he wouldn't lose out. After all, their way of making money was to take 30% of the bets he placed. I wonder who fellow Taoist Ning placed a bet? I'll check it out. The Sudden Wealth Pavilion's manager said to Ning Tian with a smile. The nervousness in his heart had dissipated by quite a bit. Tear down the heavenly gate, Ning Tian said with a smile. After saying that, he took out his voucher. Tear down the heavenly gate? The manager of the Sudden Wealth Pavilion was stunned for a moment. In the next moment, he was dumbfounded. Why did this name sound so familiar? F***. Wasn't this the tear down the heavenly gate that he had placed a spirit coin on? Looking at Ning Buksu's smiling face, which was exactly the same as the smile of the previous person, the manager of the Sudden Wealth Pavilion instantly understood many things. He seemed to have heard the sound of his heart breaking. F***. That bastard Ning Buksu schemed against me. Even if he could take 30% of the profits, It would be 30% of a spirit coin's worth. How much could it be? Brother manager, brother manager? At this time, Ning Tian waved his hand in front of his eyes very considerately, waking him up and letting him face despair. Brother manager, your sudden wealth pavilion won't break your promise, right? After the manager woke up, Ning Tian looked at him with a smile. No, I won't. The manager of the sudden wealth pavilion squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying. He said word by word, fellow Taoist Ning, don't worry. My sudden wealth pavilion has always been honest. I'll give you the spirit coin now. After saying that, he took out a storage ring and handed it to Ning Tian. Fellow Taoist Ning, count it. Ning Tian took it and nodded after looking at it for a while. Okay, although I earned tens of billions of spirit coins with one spirit coin, I'm still very satisfied. Hearing this, the manager of the sudden wealth pavilion twitched the corner of his mouth. Can you say something human? On the side, Sui Weiyao and the others had long been used to it. Haha. Brother manager, I'll look for your sudden wealth pavilion again next time. There aren't many stores that are so honest. Ning Tian smiled and patted the manager of the sudden wealth pavilion on the shoulder, then turned around and left with the group of people. Still look for my sudden wealth pavilion? Hearing this, the manager of the sudden wealth pavilion trembled. He looked at Ning Tian and the others as if he had seen a devil. It's over. My sudden wealth pavilion is finished. His lips were trembling. At this time, a group of people came over. Hey, manager, we want to bet. Damn it. We're bankrupt. Get lost. The manager of the sudden wealth pavilion had broken through his defense. Ning Tian and the others once again stepped on the void ship and rushed toward the Sky Fox Valley. As for the immortal Dragon Emperor, he slipped away after leaving the Black Earth Death Mountain. After all, if he didn't slip away as soon as possible and was targeted by the old ancestor, wouldn't his new home be gone? On the void ship, in a room, Ning Tian and Sui Weiyao were alone. No. To be exact, Bai Lu was also there. But at this moment, she was inside the death bell. Sui Weiyao looked at the death bell on the desktop mountain and couldn't help but ask, Honey, you mean Bai Lu is inside the death bell? Yes. Ning Tian nodded slightly. According to Bai Lu, she had just left the Black Earth Death Mountain, so the death energy in her body could only be preserved inside the death bell. This was also the reason why the Death Lord didn't want her to leave. If she was careless, she might disappear from the world. I see. Sui Weiyao nodded and pouted her red lips. Then, she approached Ning Tian and whispered something in his ear. Huh. Weiyao, are you serious? Hearing this, Ning Tian's eyes widened, and she swallowed her saliva with difficulty. Sui Weiyao blushed slightly. She licked her red lips and nodded slightly. Bai Lu is still here. Ning Tian glanced at the death bell on the table and coughed dryly. Chapter 424. 2,000,000 Years. Hearing this, Ning Tian picked up his teacup and swirled the tea in it. His eyes flashed with a complicated look. Although he had been in this world for a long time and had gotten used to it, 2,000,000 years was still too long for him. Yes. Qin Gaijiang smiled with an aloof look. It's only 2,000,000 years. Believe me, time always passes quickly. After all, however, before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Ning Tian. She picked up her tea and looked at Qin Gaijiang with disdain. If that's the case, you're already so old. Qin Gaijiang's mouth twitched. He looked at Ning Tian helplessly. Fellow Taoist Ning, cultivators don't look at time. It's only a few million years. For some existences, it's still very young. Yes, what you said makes sense, but I won't listen. Ning Tian nodded and took a sip of tea. Hearing this, even the good-tempered Qin Gaijiang had an inexplicable urge to beat Ning Tian up. Isn't this Ning Tian too despicable? However, thinking of his two wives with powerful backgrounds, Qin Gaijiang immediately lost his temper. Although he had lived for a long time, he only had his life. In terms of cultivation, if he really fought, he really couldn't win. Forget it. I'll endure it. Qin Gaijiang took a deep breath and looked at Ning Tian. He changed the topic. Today, I called fellow Daoist Ning over to answer some of your questions. I'm sure you have a lot of questions after this trip to the Black Earth Death Mountain. Questions? Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned and gradually became serious. Does every forbidden land have an owner? You can say that. Chen Gaijiang gave an ambiguous answer. Every forbidden land is an ownerless existence in the beginning, but as time passes, the laws of heaven and earth and spirit energy continue to grow. In the end, many forbidden lands have owners. The laws of heaven and earth? Ning Tian's eyes flashed and Chen Gaijiang closed his mouth, allowing Ning Tian to think on his own. Ning Tian frowned and muttered to himself. At first, there was no master. But as time passed, the laws of heaven and earth and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gave birth to a master. After a moment of thought, his eyes suddenly flashed with a bright light. He seemed to be enlightened. Could it be that the Death Overlord himself is the law of death? Ning Tian looked at Chengajiang and asked tentatively. No, the Black Death Mountain indeed has another name, the Forbidden Death Ground. However, the Lord of Death is not the law of death. She is only a creature born from the law of death, an existence closest to the law of death. Chen Gaijiang said slowly as he sipped his tea. Doesn't that mean it's the same for the other forbidden zones? Ning Tian raised his eyebrows. Not all the forbidden zones. Chen Gaijiang shook his head. To be exact, all the forbidden zones you know of are like this. Their owners are all creatures born from heaven and earth, an existence closest to the law of death. In other words, if fellow Ning wants to unleash the full potential of the heavenly God constitution, you have to go to these forbidden zones born from the law of heaven and earth. Ning Tian frowned slightly and pondered for a moment. He looked at Chen Gaijiang and asked, what about them? Did they do it? No. Chen Gaijiang shook his head slightly. He knew that the them Ning Tian was referring to was the previous Sky God constitution. Every one of them mastered one type of nomological law to the limit, but no one has ever mastered a second type. There's no need to even mention grasping all of the laws. None of them? Ning Tian sighed in relief. Since none of them had done it, should he take the initiative to break the record? He wondered what kind of reward he would get if he shocked the heavenly God constitution. Thinking of this, even he was looking forward to it. However, according to Chen Gaijiang, one couldn't completely master the law of the Forbidden Zone just by going to it. For example, he went to the Black Death Mountain and didn't master the strong law of death. If that was the case, then, do I have to go to the Black Death Mountain again? Ning Tian's mouth twitched. If he went to the Black Death Mountain again, what if the Master of Death didn't care about his background and wanted to attack him?
Yes.
Chen Gaijiang nodded with a smile and waved his fan. Don't worry, fellow Daoist Ning. If you go there again, the Master of Death might give you the real law of death. After all, you stole her corset. Puff. Chen Gaijiang didn't finish his words. A fist appeared in front of him. Then, his vision turned black and he flew into the sky, disappearing like a meteor. I didn't expect Pavilion Master Chun to fly so far away. Bai Lu hugged the death bell and looked at Chen Gaijiang, who disappeared in the blink of an eye. Phew. Ning Tian silently withdrew his fist and breathed a sigh of relief. He almost made the fortune teller say something he shouldn't say. Fortunately, he made the first move and directly sent him flying. Fellow Daoist Ning, what did you steal from the Master of Death? Bai Lu looked over. Cough. Nothing. That fortune teller made it up. Ning Tian waved his hand slightly. After a dry cough, he said again, by the way, Bai Lu, can you tell me about the reincarnation Dao God now? Hearing this, Bai Lu was silent for a moment. She couldn't help but tighten her grip on the death bell. After a while, she shook her head. I will tell you in detail when you are ready to go to the Endless Sea domain. Now, absorb the law of death that I promised you. Although it can't be compared to the Master of Death, it can at least be regarded as a high-level law comprehension. As for the death bell, I can't give it to you now. Okay. Ning Tian didn't hesitate and nodded. Although Bai Lu's law of death wasn't as good as the Master of Death, it was far beyond ordinary people. As for why she didn't give him the death bell, He understood in his heart. After all, Bai Lu was the spirit of the death bell. She certainly didn't want to surrender so early. He wasn't in a hurry and let fate take its course. Well, fellow Taoist Ning, get ready, Bai Lu said. Then, the death aura quietly circulated, and the death bell in his arms began to emit sounds. Dong, dong. Every time the bell rang, it seemed to represent a different concept. Ning Tian was stunned when he heard the sound of the death bell. His brows furrowed subconsciously. When the sound of the bell rang, he felt as though he had been dragged into a land of death. Boundless deathly aura swept across his body. That's right, fellow Taoist Ning. Bai Lu's flat voice sounded. You have to listen to the sound of the death bell and comprehend the law of death. Chapter 425. Okay. After hearing Bai Lu's words, Ning Tian nodded. He channeled his spiritual energy and concentrated on listening to the sound of the death bell. He wanted to feel the aura of death that was coming at him. He wanted to find the death precept in this aura. At the same time, Ning Tian said in his heart, System, use the precept absorption card. Using the precept absorption card. Use successful. Beginning to comprehend the death precept. Beginning to strengthen absorption. Soon, the system's notification kept ringing in his mind. In the wooden pavilion, the sound of the death bell was endless. Ning Tian sat cross-legged and continued to comprehend the death precept. Soon, his body was surrounded by a black aura. It was an aura that was close to death. Seeing this, Bai Lu was stunned for a moment and then continued to strike the death bell in his arms. On a cliff not far away, Su Yueyao crossed her arms and stood on the cliff, watching this scene silently. Then, she slowly opened her mouth and ordered the 2 guardian elders of the Fox clan behind her. Without my permission, no one is allowed to approach them. Yes, Miss Su. The 2 guardian elders of the Fox clan nodded heavily. Okay, Su Yueyao nodded. After taking another look at the wooden pavilion, she turned around and left. The sound of the death bell rang for more than a month. During this month, the wooden pavilion in the lake did not move at all. More and more death aura gathered above the lake. Even the lake water turned black. The dense death aura frightened the Fox clan. Even without Su Yueyao's order, they would not dare to approach. Within a month, the sealed Flame Lion King had also planned to demolish the celestial Fox Valley more than a dozen times. However, it was neither too big nor too small, but it was still very annoying. Therefore, when Su Yueyao and the others were discussing whether to add Braised Lion's head tonight, this guy ran out by himself, saying that he wanted to cry to the lioness next to the immortal dragon clan. As for Ning Tian, he still did not move at all. Heavenly Spirit Region, West Continent, Tianma Cult. Many leaders of the Heavenly Spirit Region had gathered in the main hall, such as the Heavenly Treasure Sacred Master, the Sovereign of the Divine Nation, and the Great Compassion Palace. However, all of them wore solemn expressions, as if something had happened. Supreme Elder, do you want to try my barbecue mud horse? In this solemn atmosphere, a voice sounded. He saw a fat man carrying a plate and walking towards the Grand Elder of the Tianma cult. I'm not eating. The Supreme Elder swallowed his saliva, waved his hand, and said righteously, But these are the horses of the God Nation's master. We have specially trained many of them. They are very good for roasting, braising, and boiling, said Zhu Yuanbua with his arm around Jiang Chen's shoulder. Who would have thought that this guy would actually reach a consensus with the King of the Kingdom of God? Chapter 336. The Supreme Elder was somewhat tempted. Eat, eat. After all, so many things have happened recently. Grand Elder, you are also weak. It's time to nourish yourself. Zhu Yuanbua chuckled. You are weak. Your whole family is weak. The Supreme Elder gritted his teeth and scolded Zhu Yuanbua, causing the Heavenly Treasure Sacred Master to cough. What the hell? How did this little old man know that I am weak? Everyone, be quiet. Right at this moment, a clear and cold voice resounded. In an instant, everyone in the hall shut their mouths and looked up towards the hall. They saw. There was a fluctuation in the air above the main hall, and a beautiful figure sat on the main hall. She was wearing a blue and white dress and a phoenix crown. She had a slim figure and was sitting on the throne. Her beautiful face was filled with coldness, and she exuded an aura that no one could approach. She was the empress of the Tiamat cult, Luo Wuqing. Greetings, Empress. Greetings, Empress. The moment they saw Luo Wuqing, everyone in the main hall looked at her in awe and shouted in unison. This woman in the main hall had used half a year to make all the experts in the Tianling region understand what it meant to be an empress. Luo Wuqing looked at the group of experts indifferently. Her voice was as cold as ice. I'm sure everyone knows the reason why I have gathered all of you here today. The group of experts in the large hall were silent when they heard this. However, all of them were well aware of the situation. Because external enemies. In the past few months, the heavenly spirit realm seemed to be a little unstable, and more experts from other realms came to the vicinity of the heavenly spirit realm. These experts came from the 9 realms, and there were humans, devils, demons, and even other races. Some of these experts chose to lie low, while others were extremely arrogant. They did not take the Tianma cult, the absolute overlord of the Tianling region, seriously. Supreme Elder, have you investigated clearly? What is their goal? Luo Wuqing looked at the Supreme Elder and asked.
Yes.
The Supreme Elder nodded. At this time, he played an outstanding role as a tool. He first looked at Luo Wuqing, then looked at the group of experts around him, and then said in a serious tone, according to my investigation, these experts from other regions have come to the Tianling region to look for something. Something? In the main hall, the group of experts was puzzled. Luo Wuqing's expression was cold, her eyebrows slightly furrowed. Yes, those experts from other regions call them divine punishment. The Supreme Elder said slowly with a serious face, Divine punishment? Hearing this, the Emperor of the Divine Nation and the others all frowned. It sounded very complicated. When did the Tianling region have divine punishment? Why did they never know? Divine punishment. Sounds familiar. Luo Wuqing murmured, and a trace of doubt flashed in her beautiful eyes. Right. At this time, the Emperor of the Divine Nation seemed to have thought of something and said slowly, recently, there have been more and more experts from other regions in the Tianling region. I was worried that something would happen, so I acted on my own initiative and asked Yueling to inform the Ancestral Master. If there is any problem, the Ancestral Master can rush back. Ancestral Master? Hearing this, the eyes of the surrounding experts suddenly lit up. Their eyes were full of awe and nostalgia. That man, he had left the Tianling region for a long time. However, that invincible figure still left an extremely deep impression in their hearts. Haha, if the Ancestral Master comes back, these experts from other regions will not dare to be so arrogant. The Supreme Elder could not help but laugh. Speaking of the Ancestral Master, their originally flustered hearts calmed down a lot. Him? Luo Wuqing was stunned for a moment. A familiar face appeared in her mind, and a touch of softness appeared in her originally cold heart. It's okay, then go and inform him. Soon, she came back to her senses and waved her hand at the Emperor of the Divine Nation. In the main hall, the Supreme Elder wanted to say something, but before he could speak, an Emperor's thought suddenly entered his mind. The next moment, his face changed slightly, and his eyes were full of seriousness as he looked at Luo Wuqing. Not good, Your Majesty. There are extraterritorial demons heading to the Jade Lake. Chapter 426. What? Upon hearing this, Luo Wuqing stood up from the Emperor's throne. A cold glint flashed across her beautiful eyes. The aura around her instantly became extremely cold, causing the surrounding experts to tremble. It felt as though they had fallen into a 10,000-year-old ice cellar. The coldness was bone-piercing. The extraterritorial demons went to the Jade Lake sacred ground? Upon hearing the Grand Supreme Elder's words, the Master of the Kingdom of God and the others looked extremely solemn. Basically, everyone in the Heavenly Spirit Domain knew that if the Tiamat cult was the #1 forbidden area in the Heavenly Spirit Domain, then The Jade Lake's sacred ground would be the second forbidden area. It should be known that these two forces had a deep relationship with the ancestral master. Were those extraterritorial demons courting death? Great Empress, what should we do now? The Heavenly Treasure's sacred ground frowned and looked at Luo Wuqing. The group of experts behind him were also at a loss. The extraterritorial demon's attack was too sudden. They had no time to react at all. What should we do? A cold glint flashed across Luo Wuqing's beautiful eyes. The terrifying aura of a demigod quietly flowed out of her delicate body. She opened her red lips slightly and said indifferently, "Of course, we will destroy them all." Yes, the terrifying aura of a demigod suppressed all the experts present. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. No one knew when the Empress of the Tianma cult had become the Heavenly Spirit Empress. The entire Heavenly Spirit domain, Empress, Jade Lake's sacred ground, in the sky, a large patch of black clouds pressed down. The monstrous demonic aura constantly swept out in all directions. Many black figures appeared in the Jade Lake mountain range. These black figures were extremely ghostly. Their bodies were strangely deformed. The blood-red squirming eye on their ferocious faces was very eye-catching. Coupled with their deformed bodies, it was extremely disgusting to look at. In the Jade Lake, looking at the black clouds in the sky, Yaoshi frowned. She looked at the white-haired old woman beside her and asked softly, "Grand Supreme Elder, has the protective array been activated?" "Saintess, those arrays have been activated." The Supreme Elder of the Jade Lake nodded with a solemn expression on her face. The sudden appearance of the extraterritorial devil race had really startled them. "Have you found out where they came from?" Yaoshi asked. "Yes, I have a rough idea." The Great Elder of the Jade Lake nodded and said seriously, "They should be from the Blood Devil region, which is centered around the demon race. These are all one-eyed demon race experts." Blood Devil region, one-eyed devil clan. Hearing this, Yaoshi's eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness. Among the 9 regions, the Blood Devil region was the most powerful region of the demon clan, and this one-eyed demon clan probably couldn't be underestimated. Utmost Exalted Elder, not only must you activate the spirit formation, but you must also order all of the disciples to prepare for battle at any time, Yaoshi said. Then, she asked again worriedly, "Oh right, have you informed the Empress?" "I've informed them all." "All right. In that case, we just have to hold on until the Empress and the others arrive." As Yaoshi spoke, she lifted her eyes to look at the black clouds. Seeing this scene, the Supreme Elder of the Jade Lake sighed. Ever since the Holy Lord left, Yaoshi had changed a lot and was forced to carry the banner of the Jade Lake sacred ground. However, she didn't intend to blame the Holy Lord. After all, Yaoshi would take over the Jade Lake sacred ground sooner or later, so it was better to give her some time to adapt. Boom. Rumble. At this moment, above the sky, there was a series of roars, and the monstrous demonic aura kept sweeping in all directions. Wave after wave, it kept bombarding the barrier that enveloped the entire Jade Lake. Saintess, the one-eyed demon race has begun to attack. Even the demon race deep in the mountains has begun to move. The Supreme Elder of the Jade Lake said in a serious tone, "Jade Lake's sacred ground, prepare for battle." Yaoshi's beautiful eyes flashed with a cold light as she shouted at the surrounding disciples. Yes, their shouts echoed throughout the entire Jade Lake sacred ground. Although they were all women, they didn't lose to men in terms of aura. Boom, boom. The monstrous demonic aura kept bombarding the surroundings. It greedily devoured all the spiritual energy in the Jade Lake mountain range. When the spiritual energy was exhausted, the demonic aura would be able to do whatever it wanted. Even the barrier wouldn't last long. Seeing this scene, Yaoshi clenched her teeth. Although they would only exhaust their spiritual energy if they dragged on, she didn't do anything. This was because they only needed to drag on. Just like what the ancestral master said, if they could kill by underhanded means, then they shouldn't force it. If they could drag it out, then they shouldn't send themselves to death. They only needed to drag on. The longer they dragged on, the fewer casualties they would suffer. Boom. Crack. 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 At this moment, cracks began to appear on the spiritual energy barrier. A lot of demonic aura had already seeped in through the cracks. Hee. That almost evil smile sounded from the dark clouds in the sky. A dazzling red light flashed out from the dark clouds. It was an eye, the eye of the demon race. It's really here. That's right. Lord True Demon is here. The murmur of the demonic language echoed throughout the Jade Lake sacred ground. Lord True Demon? Hearing this, Yao Shi and the Jade Lake Grand Elder were stunned. They couldn't help but squint their eyes. The target of these one-eyed demons was the true demon that had been suppressed in the Jade Lake. Unfortunately, that true demon had already been eliminated by Ning Tian. Yaoshi looked up and shouted while circulating her spiritual energy to block the demonic aura that seeped in. There's no true demon that you're looking for here. Leave quickly. Otherwise, when the heavenly spirit empress descends, all of you will die. What she needed to do now was to drag on. Heavenly Spirit Empress? Ha ha ha, what a joke. In a small heavenly spirit region, someone dares to call herself the Empress of a region? What a joke, what a joke. In the sky, the huge red eye revealed a look of disdain. Then, it sneered. A mere Empress is nothing more than a woman. How strong can she be? No matter how strong she is, she's not as strong as me, the one-eyed demon king. Hee. In the surrounding black fog, the one-eyed demon sneered. Boom. But at this moment, the aura of a demigod shrouded the sky. Boom. In an instant, the black fog dissipated. A huge hand fell from the sky and slammed heavily on the red eye. In an instant, the huge red demonic eye shattered under the pressure, and a miserable-looking demonic figure appeared. He had a panicked expression on his face, and he hurriedly shouted, "Who is it? Who dares?" Boom. Unfortunately, before he could finish his words, the terrifying aura of a demigod landed on him. His demon body shattered, leaving nothing behind. At the same time, in the silence, the void fluctuated. A beautiful figure in a blue and white dress stepped out. Her cold gaze swept across the surroundings. Her red lips parted slightly, and a word was uttered softly. However, it caused the surrounding demons to turn bone-chilling. Their expressions changed drastically. Kill. Author's words, Luo Wuqing. I heard that you don't vote for authors? Cold. Chapter 427. That cold voice was devoid of any emotion. The bodies of the surrounding one-eyed devil clan experts suddenly trembled when they heard this. Chilling air flowed from their heads to their feet, and even the demonic chi around them showed signs of dispersing at this moment. Who is she? The Empress of the Heavenly Spirit region? She killed the Demon King in one move. She is a demigod expert. In an instant, everyone's gazes were gathered here. The Heavenly Spirit Empress. Many experts from various regions were hiding in the dark. Their eyes were solemn and full of fear. The Heavenly Spirit Empress's strength had surpassed that of a nine-tribulation great emperor and reached the demigod realm. In fact, even an ordinary demigod realm powerhouse might not possess such an aura. Kill. When Luo Wuqing's cold voice sounded, the surrounding void shattered. The sovereign of the divine nation and other great emperors stepped out of the void. The teleportation pillars in the Jade Lake sacred ground flickered. Many experts came out of the teleportation pillars. Before the Jade Lake sacred ground suffered any casualties, the reinforcements had arrived. Seeing this scene, Yashi looked at the beautiful figure in the sky with bright eyes and heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the Empress had arrived. Otherwise, there would definitely be casualties in the Jade Lake sacred ground. Many auras stepped out and charged toward the one-eyed demon race. Soon, a bloody scene. The demonic aura quietly dissipated. The one-eyed demon race was defeated easily by the experts of the Heavenly Spirit region. In the sky, the demonic aura was torrential. Only the Demon King was left. He looked panicked and his demonic body collapsed. He looked at the cold figure and shouted, "Heavenly Spirit Empress, just you wait. When our race arrives, We will slaughter your heavenly spirit region. As long as we find Lord True Demon, our race will definitely. Noisy. However, before the Demon King finished speaking, Luo Wuching shouted coldly. Then, the demigod aura shrouded, and the heavenly demon palm fell. In an instant, the Demon King's face turned pale. After a scream, he turned into a wisp of demonic aura and disappeared from the world. Instant kill? This was a Nine Tribulations Great Emperor's demon monarch. As the palm fell, many of the foreign realm experts hiding in the dark sucked in a breath of cold air, and their expressions became even more serious. Luo Wuching's palm not only killed the demon monarch, it also gave them a show of strength. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey. What a good move. In the sky, the cold figure slowly turned around and looked at the surrounding void. Indifferent words came out from her red lips. I don't care what you came to the heavenly spirit region for, but don't you dare provoke any force in the heavenly spirit region. There is only one ending. Die. As soon as he finished speaking, the might of a demigod circulated and spread out in all directions. At this instant, the hearts of all the Xenorace experts shook. From then on, the might of the heavenly spirit empress spread. The firmament territory, eternal demon domain, heavenly Fox Valley. Boom. In the sky above the heavenly Fox Valley, the black clouds brought about a strong sense of oppression. All the members of the Fox tribe looked at the black clouds in the sky with bright eyes, their hearts filled with anticipation. The sound of the death bell had stopped a few hours ago. Bai Lu also walked out of the wooden pavilion with the death bell in her arms. Bai Lu, how is he? Sui Weiyao immediately walked over and asked when she saw Bai Lu come out. I'm not sure. Bai Lu held the death bell in her arms and shook her head slightly. She said softly, based on Daoist Ning's comprehension of the sound of the death bell in the past month, he should be able to grasp the law of death by now. However, as for how far he can grasp it, that will depend on his own fortune. Sui Weiyao nodded. Okay, I understand. The two women looked at the wooden pavilion again. Ripples began to appear on the lake water, and the black lake water spread out in all directions. A black mist appeared on the surface of the lake. Is that the death chi? Sui Weiyao frowned. Yes, it is the death chi. Bai Lu nodded. Everyone, step back. With Bai Lu's affirmation, Sui Weiyao ordered the members of the Fox tribe around her. Hearing this, the members of the Fox tribe retreated. Boom, boom, boom. The moment they retreated, the lake water began to stir. The black mist condensed in the sky, turned into a whirlwind, and kept flowing toward the wooden pavilion on the lake. It seemed that Ning Tian in the wooden pavilion was absorbing the black mist. In the wooden pavilion, Ning Tian sat cross-legged. The system's voice sounded in his mind. Congratulations, host, for breaking through. Currently, 6 stars Divine Emperor realm. It was normal for him to have a breakthrough after cultivating for a month. The next moment, the system's heavy words came. Congratulations, host, for comprehending the law of death. The law of death has been perfected and strengthened. In the wooden pavilion, as the system's voice fell, Ning Tian's closed eyes suddenly opened. Then, the black mist in the sky continued to attack the wooden pavilion. Even the death chi on the lake water came at this moment. The lake water began to return to its normal color. The black mist in the sky dissipated. It's almost over, Bai Lu said and looked over. Hearing this, Sui Weiyao couldn't help but look forward to it. How powerful would her husband be after comprehending the law of death for a month? Boom. At this moment, a roar sounded. The wooden pavilion on the lake instantly exploded, turning into a burst of wood chips that splattered in all directions. Roar, roar. Seeing this scene, a pitiful little lion that hadn't torn down its house for a long time and hadn't found the Dragon Clan's ancestral land, yet let out an excited roar. My Heaven Gate ancestral master is tearing it down again. However, no one paid attention to it. Everyone's eyes were looking at the lake surface. A young man stood in the air and landed on the lake surface. There was a trace of black mist circulating around him. Ancestral Master. Ancestral Master has finally come out of seclusion. Seeing this scene, the Fox clan members were overjoyed. Hubby, the void next to Ning Tian appeared. Sui took a step out of it. Her beautiful eyes were filled with joy. Although they hadn't seen each other for a month, she really missed him. Ning Tian smiled and rubbed her head. Fellow cultivator Ning, how's your mastery of the law of death? At this moment, Bai Lu asked. Hearing this, many people around also looked over. Obviously, they all wanted to see how effective the ancestral master was after comprehending the law of death for a month. Haha, then watch carefully. The corners of Ning Tian's mouth curled up. Then, his eyes moved slightly, and he quickly found his target. It was a fish beast that was equivalent to a heavenly venerable level in the lake. Death, he murmured softly. A black light flashed in his eyes. He raised his hand slightly and gently pointed at the heavenly venerable level fish beast. A wisp of law aura flowed out at this moment. Everyone's gazes were directed towards the fish beasts in the lake. At this moment, they were all looking forward to it. How powerful would the ancestral master's law of death be? Chapter 428. When the aura of the law flowed out, the fish beast that was unaware of the danger was still swimming in the lake. But suddenly, there seemed to be a wisp of black gas flowing out from its body. Without any warning, the fish beast did not even struggle. As it swam, it directly flipped over its belly. It floated above the lake. Seeing this scene, the surrounding group of Fox clan members fell into a dead silence. Soon, their faces changed drastically and their eyes were filled with horror. Dead? Dead? They widened their eyes in shock. If it was to kill the fish beast, they could also do it. However, the principle of the death law that the founder just used was not like this. The power of the law could make you enter death without knowing it. In other words, even the fish beast did not know that it was dead. That was why there was a scene where the fish belly turned white as it swam. Moreover, there was no damage. It was just that its life was taken away. It is indeed the death law, but, looking at the fish beast that turned its belly up, Bai Lu held the death bell in her arms and frowned. Although it is the death law, it is only the most ordinary death law. She thought that if it was Ning Tian, there might be a different effect. But now, it seemed that she was expecting too much. Is that so? Ning Tian had a smile at the corner of his mouth. He looked at Bai Lu and pointed at the fish beast that turned its belly up. Bai Lu watched carefully. After that, a black glint flashed in his eyes, and his finger lightly pointed at the fish beast whose belly had already turned white. The power of the law surged again. When everyone was puzzled, they saw the fish beast suddenly tremble and its entire body turned over. It swam again without any panic. It was as if it did not realize that it had died just now. Huh. It's alive. Seeing this scene, the surrounding Fox clan members widened their eyes. Their eyes were filled with deep astonishment. They rubbed their eyes, afraid that they had seen wrongly. That fish beast that had clearly turned over its belly was really swimming. This is? Seeing this scene, Bai Lu frowned slightly. Sui Weiyao was also a little surprised. The opposite of death, life. Ning Tian smiled and raised his hand. A green light flickered in his hand, exuding a burst of vitality. However, I've only grasped a little bit of the life laws. If I want to grasp more, I'll have to go to those life-forbidden zones. Law of life? Bai Lu was stunned, but his expression remained calm. She hadn't expected that Ning Tian would be able to comprehend the opposite of the law of death through his control of the law of death. This was simply too inconceivable. Look. Ning Tian smiled and looked at the fish beasts swimming in the lake. Black light circulated in his eyes and green light spread out from his hands. Dead. I'm alive. He died again. I'm alive again. Just like that, the fish beast would sometimes die and sometimes come back to life. Fish beast, do you think you are very humorous? Seeing this scene, the group of Fox clan members fell silent. Their eyes were filled with shock. They looked at Ning Tian with reverence. To be able to control life and death, this This was simply godly. Boom. Deathbell, who was in Bai Lu's arms, also let out a sound of surprise. However, her expression was still calm. You've shocked Bai Lu. At this moment, the system's notification sounded in his mind. Hearing this, Ning Tian glanced at the calm Bai Lu and couldn't help but smile. Sure enough, Deathbell was Bai Lu's true body. You've shocked Sui Weiyao. You've shocked Heavenly Charm and Heavenly Fragrance. You've shocked everyone in the Fox clan. Reward, Space Jump Card. Can be used twice. Instant teleportation. Activate Heavenly Demon Express again. Space Jump Card? Hearing this, Ning Tian was stunned for a moment and put away the Space Jump Card. Although he didn't need this Space Jump Card for now, there would be a time when he could use it. I don't have a strong grasp of the life loss. At most, I can use it to offset my death loss. In other words, only when it is deprived by my death laws can I use the life laws to resurrect it. Ning Tian spread his hands, indicating that the life laws were still too weak. If he wanted to fully master it, he would have to go to the forbidden land of life. However, he had already experienced the power of the laws. Moreover, the death laws that he was using now were not his limit. In the lake, the fish beast dived to the bottom of the lake. The surrounding Fox tribe members finally recovered from their shock. They had also witnessed the terror of the laws of heaven and earth. Unfortunately, the laws were not something that everyone could grasp. Even if they could master it, it was difficult to reach a certain level. Okay, let's disperse. Ning Tian waved his hand, and the black light in his eyes dissipated. Continuing to operate the death laws was also a huge consumption of his spiritual energy. After the surrounding people dispersed, Ning Tian held Sui Weiyao in his arms and asked, "Did anything happen in this month?" "Nothing." Sui Weiyao shook her head slightly. "This month, the Sky Fox Valley has been very peaceful. Nothing major happened except for a small lion that couldn't be torn apart and was very painful." "Well, then it's fine." Ning Tian breathed a sigh of relief. "Sha Tian, is there no one who cares about my mental health? Please, not tearing down the house is really uncomfortable. Damn it, even the word-tearing technique was regressing. If there's nothing else, I think we should make a trip back to the Sky Spirit Realm," Ning Tian murmured. In this month, although he heard the sound of the death bell, he also missed his two wives very much. "Okay." Sui Weiyao nodded obediently. At this moment, Tian Xiang's voice sounded. "Ancestor, Junior Sister Moon Spirit came to the Sky Fox Valley. She said it was urgent." "Moon Spirit?" Ning Tian frowned and looked at Sui Weiyao. Could it be that something happened to the ethereal sect? Moon Spirit came to ask for help? Let's go and take a look. The two stepped into the void. In the main hall of the Sky Fox Valley, Moon Spirit looked a little anxious. When she saw the two coming, she quickly went to greet them. She didn't waste any time and directly said, "Ancestor, Holy Master, something happened in the Sky Spirit Realm." Something happened in the Sky Spirit Realm? Hearing this, Ning Tian frowned and asked, "What happened?" Soon, Moon Spirit told everyone the news from the Divine Nation's Lord. "Foreign experts are looking for something?" A glint flashed in Ning Tian's eyes when he heard this. He quickly thought of something and exchanged glances with Sui Weiyao. Both of them understood that these foreign experts were probably here to search for the heavenly punishment path. However, how can they set foot in the Sky Spirit Realm? Ning Tian sneered and looked at Tian Mei. "Tian Mei, send me the information about the One-Eyed Demon Clan in the Blood Demon Realm. Time waits for no one. I have to prepare to leave." "Ancestor, where are you going?" Tian Mei was stunned. A cold light flashed in Ning Tian's eyes, and he said softly, "The Two Clan. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.